Yo. Was gut? Was popping? What's happening? Obama. It has been a little while, hasn't it? We had a compilation day and then no stream on Sunday. How am I doing? I'm doing good, honestly. Taking a week off from the gym to reboost and recoup. And Chicken Jockey. I saw that movie. Did you guys see Minecraft movie? Did you guys see the Minecraft movie? Do I want to know something? Oh yeah, baby. Let's hear it. 7-leaf clover. Welcome back for 22 months. Well, would you look at that? 22 months. Hell yeah. Still love this channel. You're awesome, Joel. Give chin scratches for me to Pradeep. I shall. Your sister had a baby. Congratulations. Thank you, 7-leaf. Thank you for 22 months, almost 2 years. I did actually see the Minecraft movie. It was my buddy's son's birthday, and so we went with him and all of his cousins to see it. And honestly, I really liked it. I thought it was like the perfect amount of just like Jack Black being silly and dumb and whatever. And honestly, I know every video game movie always has to like have somebody, like they have to figure out a way to like teleport them into the video game world rather than like having just a story take place there like you would anticipate it to. But this is the game, I would say Minecraft would be the one that you would have to figure out how to like teleport people there, since there's no like straight up lore or whatever. How's my sinuses? They're good. I've been feeling good. Honestly, think I just had like a weird sickness for a while that was something out of the Wuhan lab too. This lab was in the Ukraine. They have a good week. Yeah, the week was good. We've got big things on the horizon. Feeling happy. And Jack Black makes you think of a child molester. Jeez, why do you keep thinking about child molesters? We might have to do therapy this stream, guys. We might have to talk people through their demons a little bit. What would I rate it? Honestly, I would give it a solid, like, I would give that a solid, like, as far as like what sometimes what I expect of a movie, and what I expect a movie and then what it actually becomes sometimes helps enhance the value of the movie. So I would definitely give it like a solid 7.9. 7.9 chicken jack-offs out of 10. I thought Jason Momoa was funny in it. I thought the jokes were like, you know, that perfect sort of in between of like inappropriate but like fine for kids or whatever, but still entertaining for adults. So a C. Yeah, I would say it was a solid C movie, especially since like for the past decade all we've had are like D- movies. I have a theory. One of the stories from a Spotify podcast, the body left in the empty male space of the girl that went missing and had the jealous boyfriend. Wait, what are you talking about? Hey Joel, I'm listening to this in the hotel since my house is being swarmed with fruit flies. Oh shit. How bad is it? Your house is actually just like an old pumpkin that you hollowed out, and you're actually like a little worm man. You're like, my house is absolutely crowded with fruit flies. That does suck though. He's always doing kids movies. Well, you know, in the past, Jack Black has a pretty storied career of doing like comedies and like serious stuff. You know, I don't know if you ever seen Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. That was a very, just like your typical immature, silly one. I think it was around when he had children. His kids are in their teens now. And I remember like years ago when he started doing kids movies, he was like, well, my kids actually watch movies now, and I want to be in movies where they can actually watch it and enjoy it. So, and at the end of the day, if you think about it, like the fucking Minecraft movie, all that shit is gonna make like $1 billion. It's gonna make $1 billion. It's gonna make a shit ton of money. So like, why would you not want to be in that, and Jumanji, and the Mario movie? You know, if you're like the hot commodity right now or whatever, you just watched Nacho Libre for the first time. That's a great one, dude. School of Cock. Actually, I'll probably watch it for you and Jack Black. I don't know. It was just like all of like the typical like Jack Blackisms. Like I used to find them sometimes annoying, but now I don't care, and they're just. I know that he's just going all out, you know what I mean? Do I smoke? No. I'll smoke hookah with friends once in a while. Did I see the post-credits scene? I did not, no. Was it funny? I knew I probably should have stuck around, but everybody was leaving, so I'm like, yeah, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go refill our $50 bucket of popcorn, baby. But it was hilarious, because, like, every time they would say something in the movie, all of the like random kids in the theater would just be like, Flint and Steel, and like say stupid shit that, you know, went to like, basically they probably saw the movie earlier that day and were just like quoting it and once, you know, chicken jockey, all that shit. But it was fun because like they would just, like the one chick would come on screen and like it was actually just like, what the fuck? All the little kids would be like, Lizzo! Like, oh my God, these are children. They're going wild. It was the reveal of Alex. Oh, right. Yeah. And Alex is the girl version of Steve, right? Which is pretty dippity dope. What's up, Sad Goral? You said the Minecraft movie? Yeah. I did see Transformers back in the day, but I haven't seen it in like a long ass time. Did people trash the theater? I mean, I feel like everybody was respectful for the most part. They were yelling stupid shit the whole time, but our gaming stream's coming up. Maybe at some point here, get some free time. We can play a game that you guys think would be fun. So my theory is that the manager killed that girl and left her in the empty mall space since he was the one who showed her that back halls. Which stories were these? Was that the Santa Claus? Or like Christmas episode? I don't even know, dude. Chicken Jockalaki. Jimmy Jorgensen, welcome to the Buttersauce Call. You now have access to bonus content. Did I watch the Neverending Story yet? I haven't, dude. I need to watch that. I've been watching, I've watched about 3 episodes of season 3 of Love on the Spectrum. It's my favorite show. And nobody can make fun of me for that. Did I hear about the dire wolves? I did. I hear they're back, baby. We're gonna proliferate their population in Colorado and make every farmer's life a complete hell. How big do those things get, bro? I feel like bringing back extinct species is like maybe not necessarily what we should be getting up to right now. But I guess at the end of the day, sometimes when like one human does something, there's like this tendency for us in our like language to be like, maybe we as people shouldn't be doing that. And it's like, bro, you had nothing to do with it. You were at home jerking off, you know, watching Jack Black. If someone is smart, literally if someone is smart enough to take over the world or create dire wolves, honestly, if you got the motivation to do it, go right ahead. I got no say in that. The only way I'm ever going to find out about this information is like 3 months later on an Instagram reel. So if that's the level of my involvement in really all of reality, then I probably have no say in bringing back extinct species. Brought back the dildo birds for a food resource. Food resource? Do they have sex like super fast or something? It sounds like they didn't last very long in the past. But I guess they wouldn't. Oh yeah, that would actually have been sick. Feed dildo birds to the dire wolves. Play Look at Me. No more copyrighted mainstream rap music. You're gonna get me in trubs. They're gonna bring back the woolly mammoth. I do remember them saying that. I'm still waiting around though. Oh, I think I saw some meme where it was like, we couldn't bring it back, but what we did bring back was an elephant with a really big fucking bush. Like what? You know, like pubic hair. Just like a ton of pubic hair. Like, alright, that's a start. Darwin spent 6 months looking for a super rare bird, then discovered he'd found it when he was halfway through eating it. Oh, that's hilarious. Old Darwin. This kind of make me wonder, was it really just Darwin's theory of evolution? Like, it's just always strange, like, one person thinks of something, especially as, like, I don't know, wildly ambiguous sometimes is, like, the idea of that, and then just, like, how quickly it is that it, like, catches on, you know? Like, I would understand if there was, like, practical concepts within, like, scientific fields where people come up with stuff and then, like, show that it can be done, and then it's like replicable, you know what I mean? But when it comes to like sort of theories, it's always interesting what just sticks with folks, you know? I feel like we could make up something right, guys, we should come up with theories right now. Just theory, and you gotta be honest with it. What theories could you come up with right now that could just shape society and make them think something totally different? Mike and Ike, welcome back for 7 months. Says, what's up, Joel? How many stories you got tonight, man? We got 4 steaming hot, stinky stories for you tonight. You're gonna love them. They're about camping. We're outdoors again. Those outdoor videos are killing it, so that's what we're digging through the archives to find as much as we can. And I'm totally there for it. I'm sure others had thought of it, but he did extensive work in the Galapagos. He worked with Godzilla himself. This is my earliest time joining live doing anything but hawk right now. Alright guys, let's get to reading. Let's get in there, shall we? Woo. Spooky. Game theory. It's just a theory. An evolutionary theory. That's probably what Darwin said when he looked at the made-up camera in front of him. Andrew with the 5 says, PSA, using the Honey app when using affiliate links steals money from creators. Did you know that? Huge class action lawsuit incoming. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Honey app is already under a bunch of scrutiny for like various other things, so I imagine, yeah, go bankrupt and come back with a rebrand here soon. I feel like at this point, any of those types of apps are more or less just like ways to farm data off people. Yeah, the Honey app is a honey trap. That's actually great if they really are that on the nose with it anymore. Slimestone. All right. I'd always been drawn to the outdoors, and my buddy Chris was the same. We'd been friends since we were kids, back when we'd skip class to mess around in the ravines near our neighborhood in Toronto, and over the years, that turned into a ritual. Every summer, we'd pick a spot, pack pretty light, and head out for a weekend of camping. Then, as time went by, we found that we had to raise the stakes to get that same old buzz. We coined the term hardcore camping, which I'm pretty sure is a case of parallel thinking rather than just us being original. But it basically involved no tents or stoves, just ponchos, ground sheets, and whatever we could carry on our backs. We'd bring a little food with us, but in such small amounts that after a couple of days, we'd have to forage and fish and otherwise live off the land if we wanted to eat. It wasn't easy, but that was kind of the point. Then, the year that we were both 24, we chose Algonquin Provincial Park, this massive chunk of forest and hardcore camping. Hardcore ass-to-mouth camping. Yeah, Darwin invented it too. That's his theory of the s'more. The s'more evolved from the cacao bean. Do they make coffee with cacao? Is that possible? Or do they just make chocolate? Chocolate! Bass to mouth. There you go. Polar Bear, what's up, dude? Is it his real voice? It could be. It certainly could be. Also, I'm so ready for winter to be over, dude. I think it's supposed to be warm next week here in old Pennsylvania, but my God, has it been uncomfortable for so long. It wasn't easy, but that was kind of the point. And then the year that we were both 24, we chose Algonquin Provincial Park, a massive chunk of forest and lakes up in Ontario, for 7 days of wilderness living. And we started out strong. The first day, we hiked 12 miles from the trailhead, cutting through thickets of pine and birch, and the air was cool. Fuck. I have so much shit on my dumbass desk. Also, I built this huge curtain track around my recording space where I've got like moving blankets hanging off of clamps that you can like do a pole curtain type thing. And then I installed, well, I'm putting some like carpet below me. I'm gonna put some like panels above me to absorb any sound that jumps off the ceiling. And then I've got some like standing panels that are in like the four corners of it as well. So hopefully that kind of like helps increase sound quality a little bit. What's my favorite movie quote in the movie? Oh, fuck. Well, I really like the mom who was in, the hell movie was that? American Pie, like Stifler's mom, as she's known for. She's like, I'm sorry for hitting you with my Jeep Grand Cherokee. Like, I don't know why that lady was funny as fuck, bro. Like that whole like side story where she was like dating a villager was beautiful. Jennifer Coolidge, yeah. Was Jennifer Coolidge in any of the Chucky movies? I had like a feeling she was in a Chucky movie. 7-Leaf Clover, thank you for the 2. Thank you. Yeah, Jennifer Coolidge is in the Minecraft movie. Go see it now. She rocks. She really carries the movie in some spots, I would say. Jennifer Tilly. Oh, that's right. She was good too. I miss her. Bonnie. Oh, she's the voice of Bonnie from Family Guy? Really? Oh, that's kind of awesome. She's a celebrity crush of mine. What was my favorite part? I like the part where the big potato got blasted off by a rocket. Also, how the fuck was he building a rocket? But it's the Minecraft movie, who cares? I like seeing the dude from Flight of the Conchords in it. That was kind of cool. Jermaine. And he kept going on about like wearing blue blouses together. That was pretty funny, I guess. Jermaine Clement. Yeah, he was great. You hate Jason Momoa? I thought Jason Momoa honestly did a really good job in this. His like character he played in it reminded me of this like fitness influencer on YouTube named Eric Bugenhagen, who's just like a freak beast monster lifter. And like it was just like the same. I don't know if that's just like it's just an attitude, you know, just of like, hell yeah, 1980s, fucking kick ass, let's go, you know. But I liked it. You think Justin would have done better? Justin who? Justin Timberlake. Have I seen In-Betweeners? I have seen In-Betweeners. Wait, that's not Jermaine's like sibling, is it, or something? Is that that's his brother? Because I've seen some clips from In-Betweeners and it is funny as shit. They love crushing loaf. They love crushing loaf. Yeah, I was like, there definitely was some like massive, you know, Jack Black-isms in that movie, but honestly, that's how you should have did it. You just tell him like, listen, man, do whatever the fuck you want in this movie. As long as you make it funny, I think we'll sell 1 billion tickets. Wait, what was In-Betweeners to me? That's a British sitcom about college students. Yeah, that one. I've seen that for a little. I thought that was really funny. I think it's from like 2006 era. Combined lava and chicken? In-Betweeners is so fucking funny. You gotta watch the series. Yeah, I made it pretty far into it, but man, it's been a while now. It wasn't easy, but that was the point. Then the year that we were both 24, we chose Algonquin Provincial Park, a massive chunk of forest and lakes up in Ontario, for 7 days of wilderness living. And we started out strong. The first day we hiked 12 miles from the trailhead, cutting through thickets of pine and birch, and the air was cool, the sky was patchy with clouds, and after our day's hike, we set up camp near a shallow creek. I rigged my poncho over a low branch while Chris gathered sticks for a fire, and then we ate some jerky, boiled some water from the creek, and let the flames of our campfire die down as the stars started to come out. It was quiet, just the rustling of leaves and the occasional hoot of an owl, but that was kind of how we liked it. No noise, no people, just us and the wild. Day 2 was a little tougher. The terrain got harder, all rocks and roots, and we had to climb a steep ridge to keep heading north. My calves were burning by midday, and the much taller Chris kept outpacing me as his long strides ate up the ground in front of him. And that night, we slept on a flat stretch of moss, and the ground was very cold, and I woke up once to the sound of a twig snapping, my hand fumbling for the knife that I kept at my side, but apparently it was just a deer moving through the dark. Now by day 3, we were nicely warmed up, and we fell into a steady rhythm. Our packs were lighter now, our food supplies were dwindling, but we were used to it, and hunger was always the best motivator to me. That afternoon, Chris caught a small trout in a stream with a line that he'd made from a paracord and a hook. Yeah, Flight of the Conchords was great. It's business time. Ooh. The Minecraft movie has grossed $336.1 million at the box office, so it could potentially hit that mark. I definitely think it might. Like, I don't know. I think kids' movies, I've heard that they're always the ones that like gross the most average revenue. Maybe I could be wrong. But yeah, I would not be surprised. That afternoon, Chris caught a small trout in a stream with a line that he'd made out of something in a hook, and we cooked it over a fire, splitting that flaky meat with our own hands and drinking water that came from the fast-moving streams, and it was better than any bottled mineral water on the market at the time. We checked the map every now and then, but mostly we moved pretty much on instinct, letting the forest guide us to potential campsites. Algonquin was huge, thousands of square miles, and we were deep in the middle of it, far from any roads or ranger stations. But that's exactly why we were there, you know? No safety net, just us and the great green beyond. The 4th day started just like the others. Chris was already awake and rolling up his ground sheet as I climbed out of my tent. Then we ate the last of our granola, shouldered our packs, and started up north again. The forest was dense, and we didn't talk much. We just fell into step, with our feet being pretty much the only sound we could hear. Now, around noon, we stopped at a narrow stream to refill our canteens. I knelt by the water, splashing some on my face, when Chris tapped my shoulder. "You see that?" he asked, pointing off into the distance, and I followed his eyes, and there it was. At first I couldn't see what he was pointing at, but then I saw it too. A shape, with too many straight lines to be natural. We grabbed our packs and moved closer, pushing through the underbrush. The trees started to part, and there it was. A building, or more specifically, a church. The walls were old wood, gray and cracked like they'd been standing for 100 years or more. The roof was steep, covered in moss and fallen needles, with a rusted cross perched at the top. Another cross hung above the front door, which was boarded up and chained shut with Another cross hung from the front door, which was boarded up and chained shut with a heavy padlock. There was a steeple. There was no steeple? There was... I don't know if they meant to say there was no steeple, because the next one has no. Conspiracy. What's the next conspiracy? Yeah, what's she on now? There was blank steeple, no windows, just this... Well, I assume no steeple. If they're making the comparison of just. Time to mine. Time to craft. Hey, Noid, good to see you. I'd be kind of sick to have like Minecraft gameplay just like playing in the background. But it would have to be like spooky, you know what I mean? Like maybe somebody's playing it with like a mod or something. Couldn't line up our Minecraft beds. Did you ever get yourself scared reading these at night? No. No, I just get my derp on and I'm good to go. Yeah, if they brought back the dire wolf, like what else have they brought back? Maybe even the fire wolf. Remember the story where the F-bomb was dropped like 11 times? I don't know. I feel like, do I ever really say bad words in my stuff? Is it really all too common to get creeps walking around trails? It's unfortunate. I want to go hiking more. Like people being creeps? I don't think it's common. Like, I would say it's probably the least common place to find a creep. But at the same time, it might be also the most common place to find one because, like, if you wanted to kill someone, you would go into the middle of the woods where no one would see it happen or whatever. I don't know. I feel like if you do go out in the woods, it's not ill-advised to bring a weapon with you just so you can defend yourself, you know what I mean? Nothing wrong with that. It's older, and yeah, I was cracking because it was so excessive. That's funny. What's up, Reacher? AKA Reach Around. Dude, I went to a park to hole run with dog, and two guys were banging halfway. I guess they were doing a whole ride themselves. It's a Gmo Grey Wolf. Oh, genetically modified. Nothing more. Bring in the holy mammoths. Isn't it woolly mammoth? Oh, you said that, yeah. No more meat shortages. Oh, I guess that's true. Would it really be no more meat shortages, though? Because you would still have to farm them, you know? All that kind of shit. And would it really be that much more meat? And where would you even be able to, like, house them? I guess up north? Yeah. Bring your AR... I mean, I guess you technically could bring AR-15 since it does... I think it's classified as a hunting rifle or something like that, or like a sporting rifle. There was no steeple, no windows, just this worn, weathered box, half swallowed by the forest. I remember turning to Chris saying something like, "What the hell?" And he didn't answer. He just pulled out the map, spread it out on the ground, and began tracing our route with a single finger. And there was nothing where the church should have been. No marks, no symbols, no hint of anything man-made for miles in any direction. I remember saying how strange it was, seeing a church with no paths or roads leading to it, and far from any residential areas too. Chris folded the map up. His eyes were now fixed on the building, and he said something like, "Let's check it out." We circled the structure, stepping over roots and ducking branches, and the chained-up door was the first thing that caught my eye. The rust was very thick, and the padlock seemed untouched. It looked like no one had been here in forever. Then as we got around the side, we saw a hole where the rotten wood had been scraped away. It was low and very jagged, just big enough for a person to crawl through. "It's gotta be an animal," Chris said, peering into the dark. "Probably use this place as a den." And he was probably right. But when he shrugged off his pack and dropped down to his hands and knees, that's when I started to feel uneasy. I said something like, "Are you kidding, dude? You want to crawl inside?" And he says something like, "Duh. You don't want to see what's in there?" I mean, I did, but I figured we could just shine our flashlights inside and then take a look from outside the hole. And I suggested that, but Chris ignored me, just dropped to his stomach and started wiggling through that gap. I couldn't let him go inside alone, so, of course, I followed. I ditched my pack and followed him, the rough edges scraping my shoulders as I crawled through that hole in the wood, and the air inside that church was damp, cold, and stale. We stood up in the dim light, brushing dirt off of our pants, and the place was completely empty. No pews, nothing. Just bare walls and a floor of packed earth littered with dry leaves. At the far end stood a wooden cross. The wooden cross. Jacob Bowling, welcome back for 38 months. I just wanted to say that the Let's Read family is the best family on YouTube. The final boss wants to thank you all. All of you are amazing and awesome. It's actually Jacob's real voice I just did. I did a perfect impression of him. He's from Manchester. What up, BlizzFizz? It's me, your boy. It is kind of funny, once in a while there'll be like an influx of people, and it makes me wonder if like YouTube sends out notifications in like waves. Like, you get a notification, and you get a notification. Bloody hell. At the far end stood a huge wooden cross, but what really stopped me was in the center of the room. A steel trapdoor, partially covered in dirt, and its edges bolted down and wrapped in thick chains. Another rusted padlock hung from the links, sealing it tight. I stepped closer, staring at that trapdoor. It looked solid. No scratches, no marksings. It looked solid. No scratches, no markings, just cold, dirty metal. Chris then walked over and knelt beside it, and the chains rattled as he gave them a tug. They were clearly solid. I remember wondering out loud what might necessitate something like chains, and Chris looked up. "Maybe it's not a church anymore," he said. "Maybe it's some kind of hideout." Now that much was obvious, but for what? And who? Chris stood up, wiping his hands, and said it could be anything. Cash, maybe, some smuggler's stash, or loot from a robbery, locked up and forgotten. I mean, why else would it be chained up like that? And I just shook my head. A bunch of cash seemed like a stretch, and it could just as easily be something dangerous. Nuclear waste, chemicals, something toxic people didn't want found. I think I made a pretty good point, but Chris just wasn't hearing me out. His eyes had this sort of edge to it, like he'd already decided what he was going to do. "We gotta get in there, man," he said, heading for the hole and the woods outside. "Let's find something to break the chains." I yelled for him to wait and then grabbed his arm, but He yanked free and crawled out anyways, and I just scrambled after him. Now outside, Chris started pacing around the church, kicking at the ground. I asked what he was doing, even though I already knew and got the exact answer I expected. "I told you. I'm looking for a rock," he said. "Something heavy enough to smash that lock." But the forest floor was flat there, just needles and small stones, and nothing big enough for what he needed. I said, oops. A bit of a tear there. I feel like most picky eaters eat chicken strips and plain fries. That's true. Hot dogs and ketchup. What's the furthest I've traveled? I guess Australia. Yeah, now that I think about it, that was my most recent trip, and it was literal hell, to be honest with you. The trip there was fine because it was kind of exciting. You're like, oh, I'm on a trip and you're going somewhere, but then coming back was, I don't know, you just wanted it to be over, but it felt like you had just been traveling. I didn't, like, when I got home, it felt like I was like in a dream. It was so weird. Literal. A widow. From reading all these stories, has anything ever stuck with you, like particularly creepy story, perhaps something new you learned from them? Yeah, I guess the true crime ones kind of like stick with me the most as far as like learning stuff. Or maybe sometimes like certain patterns that people might take in the true scary stories to like just, ways to avoid them, I suppose, or just patterns in which they might present themselves being aggressive, I guess. Thankfully, I'm not a girl, so it makes life a little bit easier in that regard. No one can eat me as easy. How long is the flight? Oh, to Australia? Oh, man, dude, it was genuinely terrible. It was like, I flew out of Baltimore, so it was like, driving to Baltimore, and then fucking had to wait there for a few hours because I got there early, and then it was like fly to Dallas, and then I had to wait in the Dallas like airport for like 5 hours, and then I was like, it was terrible. The layovers were the worst part. I mean, they were like the best parts and the worst parts, just because it was like you just had to find like ways to kill time. And I was already like sweating so much. And then I bought some clothes inside of the Dallas airport because I was already sweating so much, and like it was so expensive. It was like stupid. But it caught me off guard, and then I was like too embarrassed to say no. But anyways, then it was like Dallas to LAX, long layover there, and then it was the long ass flight over to fucking Sydney or whatever. I think it was, honestly, I don't even remember. Maybe we hit somewhere like more north. Maybe it was Sydney. And then we flew like south and then west. I don't fucking know, dude. It was just such a miserable experience as far as like, traveling. I mean, not miserable, but just like, holy fuck, this is a lot. But yeah, I did bring back a wombat, so that was the one good thing I got out of it. Hey, Bill D, thank you, dude. Good to see you. But yeah, I would say in total, like you're definitely like up for 48 hours for sure. And so you got to make sure you stay hydrated and like eat, because if you're like, I don't know, you're on a plane and sometimes you just don't want to eat because you're like, well, I'm gonna have to fart and shit and all this stuff, and I'd rather not. Rank these 3 quotes. Chicken jockey, crush and loaf. First we mine, then craft. I would say crush the loaf is 1, then chicken jockey, then mine, then craft at the end. All great though. For all the boys, you have a question? Sorry, this is an all girls chat, no boys allowed. Is this real? It could be. It definitely could be. I said he was acting stupid, that even if something was down there, It was a crazy idea to try and go get it. I told him that if he was right and there was cash or jewels locked away in there, they might belong to some gang member, in which case stealing from someone like that would be like signing our own death warrants. Again, I thought I made a pretty good point, but it was like Chris couldn't hear me, and I'd never seen him like that before. He was a spontaneous kind of guy, but he wasn't stupid. I asked him to stop, but again he just ignored me. "I'll hike till I find something," he shouted, striding off into the trees. "I don't care how long it takes." And that's when I snapped. I ran after him, grabbed his shoulder and spun him around, and I asked him what the hell had gotten into him. And he shoved me back, and then we started wrestling. He might have been taller, but Chris, he was much skinnier, and it was hard work, but I had to shove him against a tree before anyone got hurt. I yelled at him to stop again, to just effing stop, and then suddenly, it was like he could hear me again. It was like he came to. He froze and then let go of me, and I stumbled back. Both of us were breathing heavily from kind of tussling for a bit there, and I asked again what the hell had gotten into him. And he looked up, and his face at this point was pale and sweaty, and he said he didn't know. And I was just like, "Talk to me, man. What's going through your head right now? You didn't eat?" Chris repeated that he didn't know, and then after a second said that he couldn't stop thinking about that trapdoor, what might be down there, and that he felt like he needed to know. It was the adventure he was looking for. He looked kind of distant as he spoke too, rubbing his temples like he had some type of headache. And I crouched beside him, feeling the adrenaline fade as I asked if he was good to keep moving. He nodded, and we just went back to grab our packs, and then we put that weird church behind us. And the rest of the trip, though, felt kind of off. We camped 2 more nights and stuck to our routine, hiking, foraging, boiling water, but that spark and excitement for being out there was clearly gone. I kept watching Chris, waiting for that weird energy to reappear, but thankfully it didn't. He was a little quiet, but otherwise back to normal. And by the time we hiked out and drove back to Toronto, he was cracking jokes again like nothing weird had even happened. We started calling that church the Cellar Stash, turning it into some story that we'd laugh about over beers. But whenever I thought about it alone, it never felt all that funny to me. And back home, life slipped back to normal. I went back to my boring office job, Chris went back to working in kitchens, and we'd still meet up for drinks and plan our next tramping trip. Look deep within inside yourself, and you will see the true meaning of a butter sock. I used to travel for a living working on political campaigns. I got used to flying all the time. Yeah, it sounds miserable, honestly. I don't know. Even just like whenever I would do like day travels between Pennsylvania to Florida, it's just like early morning till end of day, you know. Your whole day is just like taken up from traveling, and you're just kind of exhausted, you know. Do I understand the pig with the crown? In the Minecraft movie, I swear somebody explained it to me or something like that. Was it referencing? Yeah, shoot, I actually completely forget. It was referencing... no, I have no idea. Techno Pig? Oh, is that the guy? As the guy who died? Or no? Minecraft. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I'm not super familiar with Minecraft and like the specifics. Just showered, about to shave, and then I'm just getting back to schoolwork. Nice, dude. Oh, it's referencing Technoblade. That's nice, though. Man, dude, that sucks. It's crazy, you just like, I don't know. Life moves quick sometimes. Also, where was they said there was like YouTubers in the movie. I didn't see any YouTubers. I was looking for him. I didn't see me. I didn't see PewDiePie. The scent of hitting 95 of South Florida in late March with the windows down. Orange blossom smell lovely. That does sound nice. What's up, Michelle? Hollow Cat. Thank you, dude. Good to see you. It was Dan TDM. I'm now familiar with what he looks like, but I don't remember seeing him in the movie somehow. I guess there was a lot of like extras in the movie early on, but I'm assume not much later. Yeah. I promise to be in all future movies, though. There's no more orange trees in Central Florida, unfortunately. Fuck, dude, where'd they go? I was Jason Momoa. Jason Mimosa. That scene where they were flying through the air 69ing. That was me. Valkyrie is in it too. Interesting. He was in the scene where Jason was buying the storage unit. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I don't remember any of those guys. I just remember the Five Nights at Freddy's movies had like more apparent, I guess, like cameos and that kind of thing. I went back to my boring office job. Chris went back to working in kitchens, and we'd still meet up for drinks to plan our next camping trip. And whenever we did, the subject of the church would always come up, but it was always light and there was always a punchline. I'd ask him if he remembered losing it over that trapdoor, and he'd just kind of grin, shaking his head and say something like, "Of course I do. We'd be millionaires right now if it wasn't for you." And we'd laugh and then change the subject, but neither of us ever suggested going back. In fact, we steered clear of that part of Algonquin. God, that sounded weird. We'd laugh and then change the subject, but neither of us ever suggested going back. In fact, we steered clear of that part of Algonquin altogether from there on out. It's kind of ironic, given how it was Chris that had seemed so suddenly and unexplainably obsessed with it. And not for me, but over time I realized that I couldn't get that church or the trapdoor out of my head. I just kind of lie awake some nights, picturing it. The gray door, the rusted crosses, the trapdoor sealed with its chains and padlocks. Chris's theories were wild. Cash and jewels, but I didn't buy any of that. Something about the place felt wrong, like it was something way more sinister than some crook's secret stash. I'd think about how Chris acted, how he acted like that manic edge. But they cut a bunch of them down 10 years ago. Oh, shit, yeah. You wouldn't know if you hadn't seen what they look like. Yeah, I guess I'm not, like, super familiar with all the you poopers. Am I using a different microphone? No. Does it sound different? Ort. Woga boga. As I always do, I'd be remiss if I didn't say a big what up from Lansing, Michigan. What's good, dude? Do you have a mullet or a skullet? Yeah, it's like a dread mullet. Oh, I updated my setup. That's true. I guess I did. Yeah, I surrounded myself in a bunch of like pads and stuff. And does it actually sound any? Does it sound any different? I got a gullet. I've been lurking here for like a year, mostly on the podcast. I love your stories. They help me so much easier. Oh, thank you. Good to see you. Appreciate you. How do I find the motivation to do homework? I have a 7-page paper due in 3 days. I'm cooked. You just gotta bang it out. 7 pages isn't that much. You just gotta like put on some like non-lyrical music and just do it, you know? And just lock in. Set your phone in like another room or whatever if it's like a distraction, and just get the job done, you know? No reverb. Does it sound better with no reverb? I hope so. Or echo. That's kind of sick. I'm glad that it works, that it like lets me know that, you know, lets me know it's doing it. Yarn dreads for your mohawk, teal, green, and purple. They were heavy and long. That'd be kind of cool. You know how they had like that yarn game with Yoshi? Imagine if Yoshi had like dreads, but they were yarn dreads. Sounds a little better since you set up the curtains for sure. Okay, that's good. Sounds clearer. Clear. More crisps. More crispy. I am Steve. Yeah. Fucking Jack Blackington. Jackington Black. Back in Jack. Chris's theories were wild. Cash, jewels, but I wasn't buying it. Something about the place felt wrong, like it was something way more sinister than some crook's secret stash. I'd think about how Chris acted, how he had that manic edge in his eyes that I'd never seen before, and wondered if it was just him or if it was something in the church or us hiking. I don't know. It did something to him, though. And then the months passed, and then a year, and Chris never showed another sign of cracking, and to this day, he's been solid as a rock. We went on other trips, smaller ones, closer to home, and there was like a sort of unspoken agreement that Algonquin was off the table. I'd scroll through forums sometimes, looking for anything about a church in the park, but nothing seemed to match. No records or stories, and it was almost like that place didn't actually exist. And maybe it didn't, not officially anyway. Maybe someone built it out there, away from everything for a reason we'd really never know about, long, long ago. And I'd tell myself it was just an old ruin, a relic of some forgotten time, and that me and Chris had just overreacted. But then I remembered the chains and the way that they'd sort of gleamed in the light and the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. Chris has moved on, or at least he seemed to, and he talked about that trip like it was nothing, like the church was just a weird blip. And I played along and kept it very light, but deep down, I knew that we brushed up against something that we were meant to find. Holy shit. How much fucking, like, reflection upon the story. Dude, the reflection upon the story is as long as the fucking actual story. My God. But I guess we need... This is fine. How come I didn't go live Sunday? Oh, yeah, we had, it was just a compilation video on Monday, so there was nothing... No need to record. Should you shave your head? Yep. Valkyrie's not in the movie anymore. She got cut. Oh my God, I remember that. Yeah, because she said Jason Momoa was a dickhead. Do you remember that? Like, why would you... Like, you're a fucking YouTuber, bro. And you come in and just immediately start talking shit on, like, one of the biggest people in Hollywood. Like, sure, I get it. Like, you know, but save that fucking story for, like, down the road. Like, what did she... What... And, like, and to what extent... Wasn't it like he was only just, like, rude to his assistants or something like that? At which point, is that any of your fucking business? And also you have to wonder to yourself, like, to what extent was the rudeness, you know? Because her definition of rudeness might, like, be, like, the nicest person in Hollywood based on, you know, what? You know, fucking Harvey Weinstein or some shit. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't cause a stir. Like, for fuck's sake. Like, it's clear, if anything, based on that and then the Snow White chick, that people just need to shut the fuck up, you know, when it comes to their opinions on, like, like, especially if they're trying to promote some big Hollywood bullshit where there's, like, literally $1 billion on the line. Just keep your head low, chill the fuck out, get the job done, and cringe on, you know what I mean? And I can only imagine she's there for a cameo. One cameo. It's probably a day of filming and a day of makeup or whatever. Like, just shush. You're gonna shave your head. Do it. Do it live right now. Tell us about it. He was yelling at the crew, but they could have messed up his scene. Oh, so it was sort of like a Christian Bale thing where he's like, "You shut the fuck. Oh, good for you." You guys remember that? That shit was funny. Did you ever consider going into radio? You know, I wouldn't be opposed to hosting a radio station or something, but it just depends if, you know, you actually get paid to do it. Because, I mean, I'm fairly certain, at least around here, like radio station hosts are just like, I don't imagine they make any money, you know what I mean? Jenna Ortega bleached her brows. Thank God. I've been waiting. The Snow White chick fucked up big time. You know, she may have, but I mean, like, let's be honest. Was this Snow White movie, like, geared for success at all? You know? I don't think there was anybody I knew in the existence of ever that was like, I can't wait for the Snow White remake. I can't wait for the Snow White Dude, I thought that movie came out fucking 15 years ago, and not the original, just like itself. I thought that they already released it. It already sucked, and I felt like I kept hearing about it over and over again, and all it was doing was getting more and more bad publicity. And sure, that Zegler girl like didn't help things, but you know for a fact that the fact that it lost hundreds of millions of dollars, probably, you know, she's just being used as a scapegoat to like. But at the same time, yeah, if you need a scapegoat like that, she's probably the right one to use, because the fuck, like, what are you what are you doing? Just fucking focus on be Snow White. That's your one goal. That's your one goal when you show up to promoting the Snow White movie, is being Snow White and not saying anything else. You thought it tanked, they shelved it for years, waiting for things to shift, they were hoping we forgot. Oh, really? So maybe it's been already done forever? I don't even know. It'd be kind of funny if you were like a kid when you filmed a movie that they just like shelved for a while, and then when it came out, you were like grown up. In celebration of the movie, how about you do a Minecraft live Let's Play? I don't know, dude. I just don't find Minecraft that fun. It's not to put anybody down that likes it. I know some people do it to relax. I feel like I would need like a quest line. I would need like a bunch of shit on my screen next to me telling me like the next objective, like go build the Ender Portal. Right the flip now. What kind of games do I play? No good ones. Actually, no, that's not true. I recently played this one game. It's called Haste. Have you guys seen this game? Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? But it's called Haste, and it's kind of interesting. Just imagine like a series of rolling hills, right, in front of you, with like interesting geometry of like some of the hills go up in ramps, some of them kind of just like roll at a consistent like height and elevation. And basically it's sort of like a Sonic game, but like almost like what you would imagine like a modern Sonic game could be. And it's sick. It's like you hit off a jump with like one of the, you know, your character's running super fast like Sonic, and you hit off these hills like jumps, avoiding obstacles, trying to make it to the end. And then when you land, you can hold A to kind of like drop yourself aggressively, like increase the gravity to pull your character down real fast, or you can press L if you're using a controller to kind of coast for a little bit, but that's like your boost or whatever. And there's various other like sort of pickups that you can get, but you're basically trying to get like perfect landings to build up your momentum, because you're kind of running away from something like some sort of dark matter that's like chasing you, and you're trying to get to the portal at the end. Now every map is like randomly generated, right? And then and there's various like obstacles along the way that kind of make it, yeah, it's almost like Subway Surfers in a way, but like not quite. And it's kind of just like what I would have loved the modern Sonic to be. The only bad thing about this game is that it doesn't really have like much of a story or anything, or like it's also has like roguelite elements in the fact that what you do is you go into these different shards, which then begin the level per se. But each level is a series of like nodes that could be like 15 nodes, and each node is like a, you know, another map you got to clear. And you have to clear all those like maps until you eventually face off against a boss that has like still within the same mechanics, but like an objective to it. And so that kind of makes it, a little bit not as fun as Sonic in the sense that there's no like storyline or interactivity with the world or even necessarily, and then there's a lot of like dialogue in between where you're just like, it's two like anime characters kind of just spouting out a bunch of nonsense that I just kind of hold A to skip over. But yeah, it's honestly a fun little novel game, and I really enjoy that about like I enjoy that about indie games. You just kind of get something new. Yeah, original. It's very original. Are hopes high for the live Lilo and Stitch? I saw that commercial. It looks like whatever. Looks like a Lilo and Stitch live action. I was kind of surprised because the little girl that's in it looks like she's literally 3 years old and like acting. And I don't know, like the actors in it just like didn't. It almost seemed like a straight to TV movie, but they just are putting it out as like a full on release. It could be good. I probably won't watch it, though. Only if Jack Black's in it. The molester. What's your opinion on live action How to Train Your Dragon? Oh, yeah. I remember seeing How to Train Your Dragon in theater when I was, like, in high school or something like that, and that one was kind of like whatever as well, and I didn't see the subsequent sequels. And I don't even know if I ever saw Lilo and Stitch back in the day on the anime. I mean, it always looked cool. And I do miss like 2D animation movies. Like I wish they would bring those back with like no usage of like excess computers or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like to get like a good kids movie, it's kind of like rare to come by nowadays. But also I'm fucking an old ass man, so like my opinion doesn't really count. Do your videos have an age demographic, or is it all over the place? It's kind of all over the place. I would say like the majority of my audience is probably between the age of 25 to 35, like in that range overall, because it's like mainly like scary true crime, personal story content or whatever. But at the same time, I'm sure it can be like anybody listening probably. I make others feel like they count as well. That's good. You guys count. Your opinions matter. If you think something's shitty, let them know. It's the only power we got anymore. Saying stuff sucks. It stinks. What video has a story about the task force for the Green River Killer? I think it was Gary Ridgway. The other stories were good too, but it's somehow lost it somehow restarting my phone. Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway. I don't know. What happened in it? Task Force. Man, was there like a theme or anything like that? I always call myself old. I don't know. I'm about to be 35, dude. And maybe I'm not old. But I definitely adhere to the fact that, like, when you're 27, you're actually 24. But the second you turn 35, you're 50. And you might as well be dead. No, I'm just kidding. Nah, I don't know. It's whatever. Who cares? I'm grown. There you go. Yeah, I'm grown ass. I'm a grown ass man. Jensen is actually 45. Oh, we're not even done with this story. We're still, like, debriefing. Holy fuck. Chris moved on, or at least he seemed to. He'd talk about the trip like it was nothing, like the church was just a weird blip. I played along and kept it light, but deep down, I knew that we brushed up against something that we weren't meant to find. I never told him how much it still bothered me, how I'd dream about that trapdoor some nights, and how I sometimes wondered if we dodged. I never told him how much it still bothered me, how I dreamed about that trapdoor some nights, and how I sometimes wondered if we dodged something worse than we realized. And it's been years now, and we are still friends. He's the same Chris, loud, stubborn, and loyal, and I don't think he dwells on it too much, but me? I don't think I'll ever fully let it go, hence why I sent it here. And that church, I know it's still out there. I'm sure of it. Standing silent among those trees, and whatever's chained up under that trap door, I sincerely your millionth subscriber. And whatever's chained up under that trapdoor, I sincerely hope it stays there. I have a question for people past 20. Do y'all still think that you're a teenager? I don't know. I think you always kind of have a certain sense that you're like younger than you actually are. You know what I mean? You sort of like grasp onto those moments and times where you are like at your peak, you know, at certain moments. Like maybe you were at your social peak at 21, but then you were at your like physical peak at 27, then you were at your, you know, financial peak at 35. You know what I mean? Like you're all of your heightened sense of selves for like a while, but you're also all of your weaknesses as well. So you're still like your childlike self. I don't know. I think you are just generally who you are and all of your experiences and a culmination of all of it. And but at the same time, I do think that most people, especially when you're like in your early 20s, you want to grasp onto your teenage years with like less responsibility or whatever, you know. 26 but you feel 19, right? You know, that's a pretty common thing. 24 but feel dead inside, yeah, that's common too. You know, I think at the end of the day, the only way to even feel like a new sense of like life sometimes is just to try new shit, you know. Try to do something new in your relationship life, try to do something new in your social life, try to do something new with your professional life, try to do something new with your physical life or spiritual life or whatever the fuck. Just try new shit and it will be it'll be a stepping stone in your story, a chapter of sorts or whatever. What life stage am I in? I don't fucking know, dude. I mean, I'm trying to increase everything gradually as time goes on, but I definitely feel like if I don't do that, life could feel very stagnant pretty fast. And honestly, I do find that I'm in a bit of a stagnation phase. Well, not currently, but I was very much in a state of stagnation for a long time. What do you think would win in a fight, Poe or Steve? Which one's Poe? Oh, do you mean the panda? Kung Fu Panda. Shaboinga. Wait, what does he say? Skadoosh. What's up, Naomi? Did you mean wandered or wonder how I sometimes wondered if we dodged something worse than we realized? Oh yeah, should I read that again? I never told him I sometimes wandered. Yeah, I guess I sometimes, like if you're doing it in the present tense, it would be I sometimes wander. But they wrote it in like the past tense or something. I don't know. I sometimes wonder if we dodged. But then it might be past tense. I never told him how much it still bothered me, how I'd dream about that trapdoor some nights, and how I sometimes wandered. Well, yeah, I guess he would have wandered in the past tense there. Do you like any philosophy that helps you in life? Yeah, I mean, like today I was listening to, what's it called, like Carl Jung, like a lot of like modern psychology people or whatever, you know, they pretty much are like modern day philosophers in a lot of ways, obviously, even though they kind of like mask their sense of philosophy in this idea of like analyzing psychology or analyzing the subconscious mind or, you know, whatever. They're just fucking terms to explain shit that everyone's been trying to explain since the dawn of humanity. Yeah, I love Dr. Shaboinky. But yeah, you know, just Carl Jung talking about like before you can, like talking about like self-sabotaging. Like I don't know if you guys have ever felt like you've like self-sabotaged your professional careers or your relationships or your, you know, physical self. It's like as soon as you start to make progress, you do something that just like sabotages it or give up on it or whatever. And I think it was talking about basically a lot of us do that because we have a lot of like unresolved issues within our like shadow self, or like, you know, our most base monkey self within our mind that's just full of a sense of darkness that we just kind of have to, I don't know, face it or whatever. And I think the faster we can face that shadow self and kind of come to terms with there being like an evil part of us, or like a darker, you know, like a Shadow Mario, you know, version, or Shadow Link, the faster we can just be comfortable with the fact that that's just who we are as a human. Avoid that, obviously, and turn away from it, but then also maybe it would, once we realize that, it would keep us from sabotaging our futures, maybe in a sense of like, you know, self-forgiveness or whatever. Where did the Doink Daddy come from? I think it came from that a meme a long time ago. There was like a fat kid on Vine who smoked like joints, and he's like smoking fat doinks in Amish or whatever. He went by Doink Daddy. I have no fucking clue. I think the best philosophy comes from a good novel where you really think about the character's life and then your own. Yeah, that's a great way to do it too, you know, just like connecting with a sense of empathetic vision that the author is trying to convey. I mean, honestly, that takes a lot of skill for an author to appreciate another human being's perspective, you know, where it doesn't feel forced. Because obviously, like, you know, am I gonna be good at writing a character who's female all the time, you know, and like maintaining her sense of psychology, you know? And I'm probably not, you know, but it is impressive when like authors do it. Spend a lifetime doing that. We live to be accepted and fit in. Yeah. And I guess also related to that as well, it's like once you can accept what's best for you, and, you know, not worry so much about the fitting in aspect, I think there's a certain sense of freedom there as well. Being 38 is cool, though. When I have a problem, I sometimes can see what I would have decided when I was younger and how horrible of a decision that would have been. Yeah, it is interesting, for sure, to sort of make those comparisons to the past. But no, it's a good thing that there was growth there as well, you know? Favorite aspects of being an author: the challenge of creating an entirely new person, making them seem believable and real, thinking about what their life was before the story's set. Yeah. And also just like, how does the character think, you know? That's got to be the most difficult part. I mean, not just like how they speak, but trying to take yourself out of a character and just become someone completely different. It's almost like you would need borderline, you know, split personality disorder to really manifest it, you know? I really like Marcus Aurelius, too, for helping break those thought patterns that make me self-doubt and everything. Yeah, Marcus Aurelius' meditations is great. Genuinely great. I sometimes kind of like wish that if there was like modern day religions that were present, you know, in the, you know, the case of like most Western nations, it's Christianity, you know, nothing against it at all, but there was a part of me where I'm like, man, if ever there was like a cultural myth that could overtake society, I sort of wish it was more so the philosophies and, you know, concepts of someone like Marcus Aurelius, where it's just sort of like, you know, it kind of comes down, yeah, stoicism, it kind of just comes down to, it is what it is. I tried my best, it is what it is. If God wants to take the baby, then so be it. It was never mine to begin with. Let's move on. And I think that's what made that original Gladiator movie so much better, too, than the sequel, is, you know, it had so much more philosophy in it as well. Peterson, like Jordan Peterson. Yeah, Jordan Peterson's kind of like a modern day philosopher in a sense. I mean, obviously he borrows very heavily from everyone, but I think that's how everybody really is they just like kind of, they have previous thoughts that they've heard already, and then they build upon them with their own usually unique ideas as well. And have you read any Michael Singer's books, The Untethered Soul, The Surrender Experience? I've heard of Untethered Soul. I don't know anything about it though off the top of my head. Maybe you can fill me in there. Hey Norma, thank you. You like Jordan Peterson? Yeah, I felt bad for him whenever he had that freaking addiction or whatever, and ended up having to go to like Siberia and shit to get like, go through, basically had to be in a coma for a month or something to go through the withdrawals, which is just insane. I'm not like a super fan that he's over at like the Daily Wire, just because I think when you kind of like sign on with a certain political affiliation, like really specifically, you just like end up kind of selling your soul in a little bit, where you have to like pledge fealty to certain things, you know, and not necessarily, you can't always like speak your full truth, because you end up becoming more like a prostitute to those people than, you know, yourself, your true self. Do you watch any horror or crime story YouTubers yourself? Not really per se. I'll watch them here and there, but honestly I should probably watch more just to appreciate everyone's work and kind of get a better idea. But do I like Ice Spice? I know she did a song with the Pink Panthers chick, and I really like Pink Panthers' music. I just think it's like, it has like the, you know me, I like my drum and bass stuff, and she has a lot of drum and bass beats, which I think are good. And there was like some track, I forget which one, where they kind of did a track together. But I would say like Ice Spice by herself, I'm not really going out of my way to like listen to her shit. I am happy that she, you know, decided to get in shape. I think that's a cool thing. I'm always happy when people like get in the gym, you know. I feel like getting in the gym, I know it sounds kind of cringy, but it's like, it really does open something up inside of you when you challenge yourself physically in ways. It's like something that like some people within their minds, they can't fully appreciate if they're not at least trying to challenge themselves physically sometimes, you know. Do I like biofreeze? Like the stuff under the sink? I'm not sure. Reverse ASMR effect. What's that? Oh, the Ice Spice. Just getting into Pink Panthers. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about her music is like, why the fuck is it only 2 minutes? Like TikTok has already polluted the minds of like how many millions of children across the world with like the absolute worst fucking mental illness and ADHD possible. Do we really need to like ruin music by like catering it to only being just long enough to get like a viral clip on TikTok? Like, Jesus Christ. You know, here's an idea. Take your fucking 2-minute song and then just hold Control D, Control C, and then Control V, and then just like line them up. And now you got a 4-minute song. It's just like, geez, like, dude, I get it. They're trying to get spins. They're trying to get plays. But it's just dumb. What's up, Cass? How you doing? Yeah, literally just loop it. You know that she and Juice WRLD have skins in Fortnite. That's cool. Not a big Fortnite guy, honestly. Like, nothing against it. It's just like, I don't know. I think about like Battle Royales, Call of Duty, Souls-likes, roguelites, and roguelites. I just think about all of those like really popular subgenres of games right now, and just how they absolutely fucked video games and made them way less fun. Like this idea that every game needs to be a battle royale. I mean, I know that's kind of like played out at this point, but whatever. Oh yeah, Overwatch sucks ass too. But anyways, like, it's just like, the Dark Souls and the Souls-like, and then the fucking roguelite elements and that kind of thing. Sometimes I just feel like it's a fucking excuse to either make a game's like mechanics so janky and shitty that you're like, it's a Souls-like, it's not gonna hold your hand, you know, or like that haste game. I really like the base mechanics, but it almost seems like they really padded out the game excessively by like turning it into a roguelite elements. You know, it just doesn't really have a lot of depth in that regard. Simone Archibald, thank you for the 2, my friend. What game would you really want to voice a character in? Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, maybe the new Mario game or something. I don't know.
I'm not really sure. Something goofy where I can play like 5 different characters and no one would have any idea. Have you gotten close to how much you could use to be able to lift? Yeah, I mean, my max is, funny enough, like the strongest I'd been is within the past year, which is crazy. And I think that's kind of the cool thing about like strength lifting, is that you can sometimes just continue to make progress. Not always, like obviously we do have our physical limits, and sometimes people realize those much faster than others. But yeah, my lifting goals had essentially been hit in the past year, and then I kind of switched it up. I think I took this week off, and I'm talking to somebody right now. I think I'm really going to try to get into like calisthenics, like body weight, you know, gymnastic style shit. I think that would be kind of ideal. Why do you think you're impersonating Robert Pattinson as that bird in the new Studio Ghibli movie? That's exactly what I was doing. It's almost April 10th. That's true. True. Oh my god, you're right. Finally, Mercury will be out of Gatorade, and I will be free from the devils of the past. What would I do if I met a clone of myself? Oh man. I was just talking to somebody about clones, and I don't know, I would ask them if they like, I basically would try to figure out if they could think the same way that I did, or like at what point their latest memory is, like what year they think it is, just to see if like the manner in which they made the clone was like an exact copy of my like current brain status as well. Because if that's the case, that would be insane. Like imagine if you could like make clones of people, but then make them of, like, say you cloned someone on right now, April 9th, 2025. Would they be the exact same state as they were April 9th, 2025? And then could you replicate that? Do you have to wait for them to be, like, fully born as, like, a baby? Or, I don't even know. Hey, Akila, what's up? Highly recommended homemade habanero mango salsa. That does sound yummy. That thought reminds me of the new movie Mickey 17. Oh yeah, that's Robert Pattinson too. I do want to see that actually. That'll be cool. When's that coming? Is that already out? Or do you have to birth your own clone? See, that's a good question. Would it come out my pee hole, or would I have to shit it out? Have you seen that Sabrina has a new skin for Fort as well? Yeah, I don't play Fortnite, but I'm stoked about it. That is sick. I've been debating submitting a story for at least the last year. Yeah, send it in. Let's read submissions at gmail.com. Mickey 17 was the worst movie you'd ever seen. Wait, Jensen, are you being serious? You gotta be honest, no jokies. Is it actually bad? What's up, babes? I didn't even know. Were you here? You heard very bad things. That sucks. It seemed like it had a good opportunity to be something, and honestly, I like Robert Pattinson was kind of killing it recently. I feel like I don't know, it seems like his agent or whoever is pretty good at like selecting cool scripts for him. CGI was cool, story was ass, and Mark Ruffalo ruined it. Damn. Mark to the rescue again. Honestly, yeah, if they made an actual Hulk movie, I don't know if I would want to see it with Mark Ruffalo. It's nothing to put him down. I'm just not really sure what he is as like a character. Like, is he a rom-com guy? Is he supposed to be taken seriously? But I guess at the end of the day, when you're a Hollywood person, you can rebrand yourself all over the place. I'm just not really sure how I feel as far as the Hulk goes with him. I do wish there was a cool person, like a cool actor that played the Hulk, because that is one of my favorite big green killing machines. CB, what up? We went on a camping trip to Harriman? Tell this LA reject I'm a protected species part of the Buttersock cult and you are referring to me. Who? Sorry, I feel like I'm missing some context of what you're talking about. Who's in LA? People from LA in here? The devils themselves. Harriman, okay. Yeah, I don't really know. I wasn't like a huge fan of Edward Norton being the Hulk either per se, but I think he probably would have been a much more preferable one. I did like Eric Bana, yeah, as the Hulk back in the day. It's funny, the CGI was good back then, and I see it now, and it's this weird type of CGI that I think could still be good, but it also does look like 3D Studio Max 1999. And I'm thinking if it almost got like, if you used AI or something like that to like reskin it and shadow it and stuff, I could see someone like making that into a project where they take the old Hulk movie, texturize everything on the CGI, and it would look probably sick. Let's pee in the woods. Let's do it. We went on a camping trip to Harriman State Park. It was me, Simon, and Eddie, just the three of us, looking to get away from the city for a weekend. We planned it for weeks, packed our gear, and drove up from Brooklyn on a Friday afternoon. And the park was quiet when we got there, and we set up camp near one of the smaller lakes, a spot that we'd picked off of a map because it was far from the main trails. By the time we had that tent set up and a fire going, it was already getting dark, but the first night. By the time we had the tent set up and a fire going, it was already getting dark, but the first night was awesome. We had hot dogs, a few beers, and the first serious catch-up in months. And the next day we decided to hit the trails. It was late morning, and we didn't have any kind of plan. We just followed a trail until it kind of petered out and then kept going anyway. My buddy Eddie had his phone out, snapping pictures of mushrooms and random rocks, while Simon kept talking about finding a good spot for lunch. I was just along for the walk, half listening to them argue about whether there were Bigfoots in New York, and after a couple of hours, the trees started thinning out and we came up on a small lake that we hadn't seen on the map. It was small, less than 100 yards across, and right there near the shore was this lone wooden shack. It wasn't much to look at. The wood was this sort of weathered grayish-brown type and splintered in various places like it had been sitting there for decades at this point. The roof kind of sagged a little, and there was no glass in the single window. Just a square hole with a torn scrap of curtain hanging inside. The door was left ajar, not locked, just creaking on its hinges when the wind pushed against it. Simon said it looked abandoned, and Eddie agreed, but I wasn't so sure. Something about it felt off, but we were curious, so we went closer. Inside, it was pretty dim. The light from the window barely reached the corners, and the air just smelled musty, like old wet dirt and old wood. There wasn't much in there, A wooden table in the middle, a couple of broken chairs tipped over in the corner, and some rusty nails sticking out of the walls. And the table caught my eye first. It was rough, covered in dark stains, big uneven patches that looked almost black in the shadows, and I ran my finger over one, but I couldn't tell what it was. Eddie said that there were... What? Oh, the dark stains, okay. Probably get a Marvel DC crossover before getting a good Hulk movie. Yeah. Timothy Chalamet. I heard recently that Timothy Chalamet is on SARMs, and he is about to be like 235 pounds of pure muscle. Do I like Ariana Grande? Yeah, I mean, she seems fine, I guess. She seems a bit sickly right now. I see her, she looks like one of the many celebrities that's taking Ozempic for no reason other than the fact that they want to look just deathly rail thin. Also, I don't know, I never had watched that show that she was in when she was younger. What's the one from Nickelodeon where she has like red hair or something like that? I don't even fucking know. Victorious? Yes, that one. But, dude. So, like, I was with my buddy and his daughters were watching it. It was on, like, Netflix or something. And holy shit. Her voice is so painfully annoying that I just, like, can't even imagine that her voice box could somehow still exist in that, like, doing this voice all the time. She talks like this in every episode, and she has to, like, especially when she does like the really high pitched shit, that doesn't feel good on the voice, and it's just like terrible. But there was a really fucking funny part that I feel like wasn't supposed to be funny, but like it was just so weird. She like takes her shoe off at one point. They're on the street, and she just throws it. And like out of nowhere, this like disgusting fucking biker dude comes out of nowhere from like side stage left on the street and like has her shoe, and he's like, "Can I have this?" And then, like, I don't know if they said yes or something, but he's just like, he like shrugs his shoulders and then like walks away sniffing her shoe. And I was just like, what the fuck? It was so weird. And then, that was a Dan Schneider moment, dude. I was like, no fucking way, dude. Like, how I genuinely want to see like a compilation. I want to see a compilation of how many foot references Dan Schneider has made in all of his like kid shows, because it's so fucking weird, like that no one noticed like throughout that whole process. I don't know, it's very, very strange. Even stranger though, there was like some weird like softball interview that he did more recently, like in the past year or something, where it's like he lost a bunch of weight and then they were like framing these questions and like asking him stuff almost like he was some victim in this whole thing, and I was just like, is this guy not like a bad person? Like, why are they interviewing him like he's redeemable or something? It was just very, very weird, and I'm just like, man, Hollywood will fucking step on its own throat if it means like saving any of its various vipers. But yeah, there's got to be a YouTube video of just like a compilation of all the foot fetish references. Also, I didn't realize a Nickelodeon, like the term Nickelodeon, I didn't realize that was like one of the terms for like when movie theaters were like just starting out, and they kind of existed as like quick 15-minute motion pictures that existed inside like a shoe shop or something, like a Dan Schneider shoe shop. Where it was just kind of like action films, and maybe sometimes they would play music or whatever in the background, like an orchestra or something. They called those Nickelodeons, like just these tiny little places where you would go to watch like films. I thought that was kind of interesting. This form of damage control and gaining pity. It's just one of those things where like how? And to me, in a weird way, it's like, okay, he's doing damage control, he's gaining pity, but why is he setting it up? And does that mean that he has like such massive sway within Nickelodeon? Because you would think that if there were like people above him in Nickelodeon, he would be essentially like nuclear waste that they can't touch, and he's literally irradiated, and they would just be like, bro, get the fuck and as far away from us as possible. And in my mind, I'm like, if they as a network are going out of their way to do damage control for him, does that mean that it's like all intertwined to like fall together in some weird way? And then does that also mean that he is currently doing work with, that's a good question. Let's ask the internet. Is Dan Schneider producing any shows currently? Question mark. As of April 2025, Dan Schneider, the former Nickelodeon producer known for creating shows like iCarly and Victorious, is not actively producing any television shows. As a party in 2020 interview mentioned working a new pilot aimed at a more adult audience. He's finally moved up, as well as another project intended for children and families. However, there have been no further updates on announcements regarding these projects since then. Recently, Nickelodeon announced a spin-off of Victorious titled Hollywood Arts, focused on the character Trina Vega, portrayed by Daniela Monet. Schneider is not involved in this project. In March 2024, Schneider addressed the allegations against him in the docuseries Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, expressing regret for some of his past behaviors and issuing apologies. Yikes. Well, at least he's not doing anything. It was rough, splintered, and covered in some dark stains. These sort of big, uneven patches that looked almost black in the shadows, and I ran my fingers over one, but I couldn't tell what it was. Eddie said it was probably bloodstains. Simon agreed, pointing at the walls. They were lined with hooks, maybe a dozen of them, screwed into the boards at different heights. Some were bent, others rusted, but they were empty. No tools, no ropes, nothing hanging there now, and it made sense to think a hunter had used this place, maybe to skin deer or whatever else he'd shot. And that's what we told ourselves anyway. It was creepy, but I suppose not unexplainable. And we continued poking around for a few minutes. Simon kicked at the curtains. She was on the set for iCarly. Dan Schneider was there, and he gave her a hug, and she looked so incredibly uncomfortable. Yeah, man, it's odd. Whole thing's fucking weird, man. I feel so bad for Amanda Bynes. That's a good point too. Was that a Dan Schneider? Like what? I'm confused. So like, oh yeah, let's see. He apologized, but what were the allegations against him? How come I only have one like your like? Might just be not showing up. Toxic or inappropriate behavior towards female colleagues. Former employees alleged that Schneider requested massages from adult female colleagues and engaged in other inappropriate contact. He has since expressed regret for these actions, acknowledged they were inappropriate. Sexualization of young actors. Dan Schneider's shows reportedly included scenes and jokes that sexualized young actors. For instance, actress Alexa Nicholas from Zoe 101 described a scene where a substance was squirted on her coworker's face, which she later recognized as inappropriate. Gender discrimination. Two female writers, The Amanda Show, claimed that they were forced to share a single salary, which violates labor laws. They also reported being subject to inappropriate jokes and behavior. Huh. Was there anything like jailable? Like something where you would go to jail for? And Jamie Lynn Spears, dude, see, I wouldn't be surprised with that if like this is just like manners in which to like get him out of there. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's like some much, much darker shit that they just didn't talk about because it's, I don't even know, covered up or something weird. I mean, because like tell me how does Amanda Bynes end up with face tattoos? You know what I mean? If there wasn't some like severely bad shit that occurred to her. Simon kicked at the curtains, and Eddie took a picture of the table, saying he'd show it to his brother who hunted upstate, and I just stood by the door, pretty much ready to leave. To me, that shack did not feel right, and then when we stepped outside, I was glad to be breathing lake air again. We started walking back toward the trail, figuring that we'd head to camp and eat, and it was around about then that Simon tripped. He was a few steps ahead of me, near the side of the shack, when his foot caught on something. He stumbled, his arms went flailing, but didn't fall. Eddie and I caught up, and there it was. Something metal sticking out of the dirt, just an inch or two above the ground. It was dull, rusted in certain spots, and half covered in soil. And at first I thought it was a knife or maybe a hatchet, something a hunter might have dropped and forgotten. Simon crouched down and brushed some dirt off of it, but it didn't budge. He said that it was stuck. Eddie handed me his water bottle and told us to dig it up, and he was already curious. And statute of limitations and NDAs. I don't know, I feel like if something like illegal occurred, an NDA is kind of like null and void, you know what I mean? What's my opinion on Legos? I love Legos. I used to play with Legos every day of my life when I was a way old chap. But, yeah, I kind of miss it, honestly. I wouldn't mind putting together a Lego set. Of course, I guess, like, building this stupid-ass, like, enclosure around myself with, like, curtains and stuff was kind of like adult Legos. And really, I feel like that's all Legos really serve a purpose for when you're younger. It's just conditioning your mind to know how to, like, follow building instructions for, like, various other items you buy off Amazon. On non-generic brand Lego, I'm fine with them. They're okay. But it does let me know if I go over to your house as a kid that your family's poor. And if that's the case, then I might be inclined to, like, light a match in the middle of the night because you guys need the insurance money. Lego brand Legos only, or you're going up in flames. For me, Legos, I create the physical representations of my characters in your storyline. That's fun. Because they're making them have unlimited funds to sue you into silence and ruin your life. I guess that's true too, you know? It's just weird. Maybe I feel like at that point for like that stuff to come out, but not to go like further pertaining to certain allegations against Dan or whatever, you would think that there would have to be like some degree of like threat, you know, like they would have to like physically threaten your life or your family's life to like keep you quiet in some weird way. But I'm just speculating. None of this is true. I just got a job there. I'm gonna be the new iCarly. He asked me what size shoe I said. He wasn't happy when I said 11s. I told him I only wear boots. Look up how many corporations are tied to Nickelodeon to see the scope of financial backing. Oh, that's a good point too. Eddie handed me his water bottle and told us to dig it up. I grabbed a stick and started scraping at the dirt, and Simon used his hands, pulling up clumps of earth and just tossing it aside. And the more we dug, the bigger things got. It wasn't a tool. That much was there. There was a curved edge, and then another, and soon we could see it was hollow inside. and after 10 minutes we had it mostly uncovered. It was a helmet, or at least something that looked like one. The metal was heavy, maybe iron, pitted and rusted, but solid. It was tall, pointed at the top like a pyramid, and the front had 2 slits for eyes shaped like crosses. Not the kind of crosses that you might see at a church. They were sharper, uneven, like someone had hacked them in with a chisel. And the whole thing was strange. It definitely didn't belong here, and it creeped me out just looking at it. Eddie steps back, asking what it was, and Simon picked it up, actually grunting at how much it weighed, and held it out in front of him, saying something like, looks like a clan hood or something, he said. But metal. And I didn't think it was that. The clan didn't wear iron pyramids on their heads, and as far as I knew, it felt older and heavier, like it wasn't meant just for show. Simon turned it over, looking inside, and he said it smelled like rust and mud, and then smiled and said, "I'm gonna put it on." "No, you're not," Eddie said, snatching it from him. And he set it on the ground and wiped his hand on his jeans. "It's filthy. At least clean it first." Simon shrugged, but I could tell that he was serious about trying it on later. But I didn't like it. The helmet gave me a bad feeling, like it was almost watching us through those cross slits. But I didn't say anything. I didn't want to sound paranoid like I've been listening to your channel for so long. And we left it there by the shack and headed back to camp. The hike back was pretty quiet, though. None of us talked much, and we just kind of kept our eyes on the trail. And by the time we got to the tents, the sun was starting to go down low. We built a fire, cooked some pasta on the camp stove, and sat around eating with some jarred sauce on top of that. And we talked in long... Seventh Heaven Dad and how he was a creeper, then went through the child actors and how off the rails they went. Next one is the Power Rangers. Oh god, yeah, the Power Rangers. Did the Green Power Ranger, did he die from suicide? That one's kind of insane. Honestly, at the end of the day, it sounds like just do not let your kids become actors at a young age. Honestly, don't do it at all. Go Power Ranger. Well, yeah. What happened? Was there any sort of accusations or stuff that happened to him that he left behind or anything like that? I guess we could look it up. Did the Green Power Ranger end his own life IRL? He was pretty beloved. Hey man, have you done reality show horror stories? I don't think so. Jason David Frank, best known for portraying Tommy Oliver, the Green Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, died by suicide November 19th, 2022 at the age of 49. His wife Tammy Frank confirmed that he had been struggling with mental health issues and depression prior to his death. What were his life circumstances that may have led to that? I think the worst thought idea is like someone who ends their life but they have like a wife and like family. Like that shit to me is like the saddest thing ever, because it's just like, damn dude, I like if I was the spouse, is like I couldn't do anything to stop that. Renowned for his betrayal in 2001, Frank endured the loss of his brother Eric, who died by suicide. Okay, so that to me is like one of the worst things about suicide, is that it literally sticks with everyone like a demon for, in this situation, 20 fucking years. This event had a profound effect on him, leading to emotional turmoil and grief. In 2017, Frank was the target of a planned attack during the Phoenix Comic-Con. A man named Matthew Sterling, dressed as Marvel's The Punisher and armed with firearms and knives, intended to harm Frank. Authorities discovered a chilling note in Sterling's calendar that read, "Kill JDF at Comic-Con." Sterling was apprehended before he could carry out his plan and was later committed to a psychiatric facility. Holy shit. In 2021, Frank and his wife Tammy experienced the sudden death of... Oh my God. Now this even more so right here. I'm sorry to hear this. Well, even more so. Experienced the sudden death of Tammy's daughter, Shayla, whom Frank had helped raise. He was the one to find her after she passed away, an event that deeply affected and strained their marriage. Tammy noted, between losing her and helping raise her baby son, Jason, and I started having marital issues. Yeah. In 2022, Frank and Tammy were in the process of reconciling the relationship and had planned a weekend getaway to work on their marriage. During this trip, after an evening of dancing and heartfelt conversations, Frank took his own life. Wow. Tammy expressed her shock, stating, "I had no idea that Jason was thinking of ending things." These cumulative personal tragedies and challenges, including the deaths of close family members, a targeted attack, and marital status, likely contributed to the mental struggles that preceded Frank's untimely death. Question: was there any investigation of foul play? Jason David Frank, renowned for his... died by suicide. His wife had confirmed his cause of death and noted that he had been struggling with mental health issues and depression prior to his passing. There have been no reports or indications of foul play in his death. All right. I don't know. There's just a curiosity to me. It's like, if they were last seen together, had like a positive conversation, and then, already had marital issues. I'm not trying to be like negative at all. I'm just like thinking like how a detective might contemplate things. You had a colonoscopy and endoscopy on Friday. Nice, dude. Why? What happened? Did you tell us about this already? Yellow Ranger actress died also in a car accident, though not unaliving. Damn. I just assumed all suicides had to be investigated for foul play, honestly. Yeah, you would think. I mean, maybe I'm asking through Chat GPT, so it's obviously might not have all the answers, or if they did any investigation. No reports, no indications. Maybe it was just like so cut and dry that there's no way of... I don't know. I had a aunt that killed herself by shotgun. Asked her brother for the gun. No signs of issues. We're outdoorsy family, so there was no damn... Yeah, I just can't wrap my head around it. My best friend of only 14 years on fentanyl on purpose because she didn't want to go without drugs, so made her own decision. Oh my God. That's crazy. All my families, my dad's side have... Oh, Jesus. Sorry, Katie. I don't know. Like, once it starts, like, is it... Like, once it starts, does everyone just kind of see it as like, well, I don't know. It just seems like some sort of demonic shit that just sort of like spreads like a plague to everybody. And I'm very sorry to hear that. Once again, it's just fucking insane. The saddest death of someone I used to watch when I was younger was the voice actor for Ducky in Land Before Time. Yeah, how did that happen? Was she killed, or what happened with that? Man. I think it's a generational depression, and they all had schizophrenia too. Okay, yeah, I guess that definitely plays into it for sure. She got killed by her father. Jesus, her dad killed her. What the hell? Why? Damn. Murder, suicide, her dad killed her. Abusive stepdad. Oh. She also voiced a little girl in All Dogs Go to Heaven. Jeez. Man, he must have been like a drunk or something. It's different when you have children, but it's not my place. Everyone struggles and has their reasons. Ugh. Yeah, fucking hell. You'd love to off yourself, but you don't want to leave it for your sons. Well, don't do that. Obviously, we can't wrap our heads around people's struggles like that, but I mean, if you ever want to talk to somebody, we're here to chat, and please do chat with someone professionally too if you can, just to chat with family if you can, you know, I mean, talk about these things, because once those ideas are popping around your head, you need someone to talk you off the ledge, you know. The voice actor who played Charlie had to do so many takes saying goodbye to Squeaker in the movie, he kept breaking down. Yeah. Want to at least try to be successful, have a happier life. Yeah, I think that sounds way better, dude. I mean, there's going to be a lot of shit. Like, I had a friend recently who he was thinking about ending his own life too, because he went through like a car accident and it gave him like a really bad traumatic brain injury, and then he was like ended up in like doing like hyperbaric chamber and stuff, because it was like heavily oxygen, like a lot of oxygen helps to heal the brain. But then when you do that, your brain uses a lot of B vitamins, so it's like you need a bunch of like, but he didn't know that he needed these B vitamins till he went to a place that like tested his blood and saw that these were the things that within his blood that he was missing, and then also correlating the whole heavy oxygen usage or whatever. And so, you know, there might be certain things that, depending on how you feel right now, that you just need to figure out. And I think that's, you know, that's what life is in so many ways. It's tragedy. I mean, like humanity is tragedy, and you don't know light until you see the dark sometimes, and you don't know the dark till you see the light, and there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be darkness, and you just got to find your way back to the light in many ways. And that's just that, you know. Yeah, like you got to be Goku. Like Goku got sent here by himself, his whole fucking planet exploded, he really had not much to live for. I mean, granted, I guess he was raised by somebody, but they, I think, died. But you just got to keep moving forward. You got to keep training. You got to keep making connections with the outside world. And who knows, maybe your purpose is well beyond what you would ever expect. Goku killed his grandpa. We'll see, even worse. I'm surprised he doesn't. I'm sure he lives with some degree of guilt like that. Yeah, be your own shogun. I get why people do it, but you don't. But you don't, because there's some good you can do for others, and you know other people who have overcome from worse. Yeah, and then also the fact that, like, once you do it, it creates such a ripple in the energy that permeates all of your relationships that it just leaves a darkness that could, like, hurt them. You know, if you think about killing yourself, you have to understand that, well, what if just like the Green Power Ranger 20 years from now, they do it, you know, because they saw you do it, and it's just like it's been building up for this long, you know. And so in many ways it's like you kind of have to end that cycle of abuse and that abuse against yourself, and be, you know, be the inspiring story. Be the inspiring story that you see, you know. Don't give up. Don't rot in your bed. There's so much shit out there. We have so many resources to just come back. You can come back. That's the whole fucking point of life, is to have a cool ass story, you know. Then you get a story on my channel, and I'll make you famous for 5 minutes. And stop drinking, stop smoking. Like, if that's the shit that you find yourself in, like, those low points, get away from substances as much as possible, man, because especially drinking. Like, I lost a friend in college. He was like a chronic, you know, just alcoholic, depressed and stuff, and he killed himself drinking the one night, shot himself in the head with a fucking shotgun. I thankfully, you know, didn't have to see any of that kind of stuff, but it's just one of those things that, I don't know. It's a lot. Yeah. Yeah, alcohol is stupid, man. It just it turns you into somebody else, you know? It it sends you to the dark. I mean, it literally is a depressant in so many ways. And like, you know, there's a responsible way to consume it. It turns you into somebody else, all these substances. It's so sad. It's so sad to think that like life is, I don't know. Imagine getting addicted to progress, you know? Imagine that could be your life. Getting addicted to progress instead. Getting addicted to becoming a better you, like becoming a statue that's constantly being chiseled, a diamond that's being turned from a pile of shit and dirt into something fucking beautiful to be worn on a crown by royalty that is you. Now, you know what I mean? It's so weird when people fall into these holes, because once they're in the hole, it's like those demons just keep wanting to pull them back in. It's like whenever the fucking crabs, somebody try to pull one crab out of the bucket and all the other ones are trying to pull them back in. Getting addicted to Pokemon cards at 40. Yeah. Hey, honestly, that's better than fucking a fifth of vodka. Or maybe you combo the two. A fifth of vodka, and then you spend $1,000 on eBay trying to find a fucking dark Umbreon shiny. And a Charizard, yeah. We built a fire, cooked some pasta on the camp stove, and sat around eating it with some jarred sauce on top. We talked, and before long, that helmet came up again. Eddie said it was probably some art project, maybe a prop from a movie shoot that got left behind. Simon, though, he didn't buy it. It's too heavy for that, he said. Why bury it? And I didn't have an answer. I just kept thinking about those stains on the table and the hooks on the walls. The shack didn't feel like some hunter's place anymore, not with that thing outside. But we let it drop and finished eating and stayed by the fire until it burned down to just embers. It was after sundown, maybe about 9 or 10, when Simon got up. The sky was dark and there was no moon, just stars and the faint glow of the coals. And he didn't say anything, just grabbed his flashlight and started walking off into the trees. "Hey, where you going?" I called after him. He didn't answer, though, and just kept going. Eddie and I looked at each other. "He's getting the helmet," he said, and I nodded. We could have stopped him, but we didn't. Simon was gone for a while, longer than it should have taken to walk to the shack and back. Eddie started pacing, kind of muttering about how stupid it was that he was walking off on his own like that, and I just sat by the fire, poking at it with a stick, trying not to think of... Yeah, healthy hobbies, man. We can do it. It's possible. Just start slow and just get into it. Eddie started pacing, muttering about how stupid he was for walking off on his own like that, and I just sat by the fire, poking at it with a stick, trying not to think about that helmet sitting out there in the dark. When Simon finally came back, he was empty-handed. He looked pale and he wouldn't look at us. Eddie asked what happened. Simon sat down on a log and just stared at the ground. "I threw it," he said. "Out in the woods somewhere. Didn't want it looking at me." Eddie asked what he meant by looking at him, and Simon didn't answer. He just shook his head. And Eddie continued to press him, but Simon wouldn't say any more. He looked shaken. like he'd seen something he couldn't explain. And we didn't push any harder than that, and the fire was already dying, and none of us wanted to stay up much longer. We climbed into the tent, zipped it shut, and tried to go to sleep, and I just laid there for a while listening to the wind and Simon's uneven breathing. I kept picturing that helmet, though, those cross slits starting out from wherever he tossed it, and wondered what kind of person would make a thing like that. And the next morning we packed up early. No one said it, but we all wanted out of there. The drive back was quiet, just the hum of the engine and the occasional car passing us on the highway, and we didn't talk about that shack or the helmet. Not then, and not later, but it definitely stayed with me. Sometimes I'd catch myself wondering if it was, and they didn't look it up at all, or something. Be like, it's from the fucking Crusades. What would it be? Someone wearing a suit of armor to like cut up bodies or some shit? Deep check to lift spirits? Sure. Where is he at? I don't know, where's that? Currently. It's probably up where it's warm. We didn't talk about the shack or the helmet. Not then and not later, but it stayed with me. Sometimes I'd catch myself wondering what it was, where it came from. I'd think about that shack and the stains and the hooks and that thing buried in the dirt. It didn't feel like some hunter's tool or some lost prop. It felt like something darker, something that none of us were supposed to find. And years later I looked up Harriman State Park online, trying to see if anyone else had come across that shack. I didn't find much, just trail maps and reviews from hikers. Nothing about a lake with a shack or a buried helmet. Maybe we'd wandered further off the path than we'd thought, and maybe it's still out there, rustling in the woods where Simon tossed it. I don't know. I haven't been back, and I really don't plan to. And whatever it was, I'm glad we left it behind, but sometimes, late at night, I still see those cross slits in my head, and I wondered if we walked away from something worse than we'll ever understand. If you have the patience and resources, a shepherd puppy is a good project that's good for serious depression. You have to put in a lot of work, but they can be the most energetic and happy dogs. Yeah, dude, that'd be cool. I was like really fucking pissed. I think I might have told this story, but like a friend of mine, he had like this white lab. It was only like 4 months old, and it was such a good little dog. And he was training it really well, and it was like the most behaved little pup I'd ever seen. Like, honestly, listened to everything, commands, just literally as well trained as, and it, and then he went away for a while, and then his, like, at least the story was that his wife called him saying that like she couldn't get it to listen to him, and she was like too stressed out or something, and then so they gave it back she like took it back to the breeder or something like that. And it was just like, what the fuck? What? I don't know. It like blew my mind. I was like, what? Like the fucking, like if I was the husband in that situation, I'd be like, no, go the fuck back to the breeder and get that dog right the fuck now. I don't know. It was just like couldn't wrap my mind around how you could just like get a dog and then it be like slightly annoying and then just like give up, you know what I mean, out of nowhere. Yeah, it would really, yeah, genuinely would I mean, maybe that's not the maybe that's a different story. I have no fucking clue, but I know it's a puppy, but it's also like the most well-behaved one that he put so much time into. I don't know, it's just like so weird to me. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like when people get like when I know people who get dogs and then just like can't handle the stress of getting it or something, it just makes me pissed that they even, why did you even try? Because now that, I mean, hopefully the animal finds a nice home or whatever and it's fine, but it's also just like such a unpleasant experience for the the creature. Working in an animal shelter, people will give up animals for the most nauseating reasons. Yeah, I don't know. Shit's fucking stupid as hell. I remember growing up, we had a husky that, my brother was quite a bit older than me, and he like had it and then couldn't take care of it, so we took it, It was just so dumb, why even get it if you can't fucking take care of it? But I'm glad we got it. He was a great dog. I do regret not like giving him more attention growing up. Hey, Snowscape, what's up, dude? Could I please make this ambient track a members video? Yeah, I could definitely do that. I could release a series of those, honestly. Do you want me to put this video in the background, or do you just want like a black background? Breer Riggs, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Thank you, Breer. Or Briar Riggs, sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Give me a can of Breer. Any more ChatGPT conspiracy readings? Yeah, what do I read about tonight? I was reading about the tariffs. And the conspiracy was that the tariffs are like this like long con process that probably will take until about like 2030. But basically it begins like a decoupling of like the United States' like intermarriage with like the Chinese economy. And it also kind of conditions the public to constantly hearing that like China is like sort of an adversary, you know what I mean? Like as far as this back and forth, and then over time as we become like less intermarried with them in relation to our economy, then it will be, have much more pressure on them to probably invade Taiwan for like the, processors or what, those microchips or whatever the fuck. As far as like rare earth minerals, that kind of thing. And then, I don't know, it just sounds like it's all part of like a larger long con to like divide Western nations that operate on like the dollar versus what's going to be called like, you've heard of BRICS, which is like Brazil, Russia, Iran, China. What's the S stand for? Syria? I don't even know. Yeah, and then basically once those like sort of camps are untwined from each other financially and more into their own like parallel financial systems, then it will be a lot easier to like go into, a state of war with those nations, I suppose. I don't know. These are just generalizations. I clearly don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but it was kind of interesting to see where it's like not so much like something that's going to be like an economic boom as it might be more of like a economic woe for a lot of people. I've been looking forward to that camping trip for weeks. Myself, Craig, and Tanner, my buddies, had planned it out, nothing really fancy. It was really just supposed to be a night in the woods. We picked a spot in the middle of nowhere, out in Tennessee, somewhere deep in the backcountry where the trees were thick and the roads were complete dirt. And it was just us, our tent, some beers, and a fire. It was pretty simple, the kind of thing that we'd done 100 times growing up. I figured that'd be a good time, and it was. I figured it would be a good time, and it was, until the morning. We got there late in the afternoon. The sun was already dropping down, and we set up camp quick, pitched the tent, gathered some wood, and got a fire going. The night went pretty smooth, and the woods were pretty quiet. We sat around, drinking and laughing. The night was going smooth and the woods were pretty quiet. We sat around, drinking and laughing, just sitting around the crackle of the fire keeping us company. And it felt good to be out there, away from work and the noise of town. And when I woke up, the fire was just down to ashes and the sky was gray and we could see that early morning light coming in. Craig and Tanner were still out cold, so I crawled out of the tent, stretched my legs, and then figured that I'd get some coffee going. I walked over to my truck to grab the pot from the back, and that's when I saw it. There was a skin of some kind of... There was a skin, some kind of animal skin, stretched out across the hood of my truck. It wasn't just tossed there. It was laid out flat, like someone had taken their time spreading it. The fur was gone, scraped completely off, and the underside was raw and pink, just glistening and wet. Blood streaked down the windshield, thick and dark and already starting to dry at the edges. I couldn't tell what it was. Maybe a deer, maybe something smaller, and the head was gone and the legs were cut off, jagged. America kind of had a track record of starting armed conflicts wars based on strawman arguments because they know the real reason won't be looked upon favorably, i.e. Operation Iraq Liberation Oil. Yeah, no, I agree. It is annoying, man. Like, every narrative we ever hear, honestly, I've almost wondered at, like, how the population would react if you just told them the truth. Hey everyone, we are setting up this proxy country out in the Middle East because it's going to operate as like a home base that will also, like, you know, essentially be a dropping off point for controlling international trade and oil production, and you know, we also want to create, I don't know, endless fucking, you know what I mean? Just tell us the fucking plan, and maybe we'll be on board. Maybe we won't. But it's weird whenever you're constantly just being fed a crock of shit all day, every day for, like, as far as we can remember. And I don't know, I think the weirdest thing are the people to me that are just, like, totally on board with, like, every narrative they hear when it comes to the government. Whenever there's, like, a unified narrative that, like, flows through all forms of media that can't be argued against or can't be, you know, talked about or discussed or anything, there's just those people that are, like, totally just completely enamored by it as, like, some sort of truth that they can't decouple their mind from, you know. It's very, very weird. Read about it in my vampire voice. Bleh, bleh. You put vinegar on everything, and since the answer is yes, how much? I don't know. I remember like at like fairs and stuff I would go to, people would put like vinegar on their fries, and it always like kind of seemed yucky. I mean, I would eat it, but it's just like, it seems like it's too fucking soggy and gross. Or even if it's just like a spritz of it, I'm just not a big fan of like vinegar on fries. It's yucky. Do you edit your videos? Yeah, I do. They're pretty simple. It's mainly just audio. Joel, your passions are very 2004 George Bush era. It takes me back. My passions. Playing golf and blowing up towers. Have you tried ketchup chips? Like dipping chips in ketchup? Tartar sauce? Yeah, that shit's good. We call bootlickers and they have no personal thoughts or opinions apparently. Yeah, but it's stupid because like both sides call each other bootlickers. Like there will be like the woke left, but there's also like the woke right who just like worship whatever the fuck the hive mind tells them to think. And they like seem to be completely incapable of like having a deviating thought from their like theologies, essentially. Like there's no way to decondition their brains in any manner in which to not like worship some form of power structure, whether that's like some billionaire technocrat or a fucking like cringy media, you know, person, or like even weirder, like the worship of like pharmaceutical companies. Like that's strange to me. I don't know. It's just like so odd how like integrated the psychology is in the same way with like religion. It's like we're all just like part of like some giant overarching death cult, and nobody can think fucking straight because they hate the other side so goddamn much. Thoughts on British food? Not sure if you've seen the slander on it. Toast and beans, like green sauce with taters. Yeah, definitely. I think I've talked about it before, how like a lot of like the straight British food, it's like they're all eating like the Blitzkrieg is still going on or something. You know? Like the bombs are still falling and everything's served on like a pile of newspaper and it's deep fried, and it's like all of them are at the fair. Like they're just in a constant state of fair food. And so they're like, anytime they get anything like with chicken marsala, they lose their fucking mind. They're like, whoa, oh my god, mate. Have you had it? Have you ever had chicken with a sauce and a rice before? Oh my god. It's not deep fried fish this time. Lost it. Absolutely lost it, mate. My mouth is watering. I couldn't tell what it was. Maybe a deer, maybe something smaller. The head was gone and the legs were cut off and jagged like they'd been hacked with a dull blade. And it stank. That sour, meaty smell that gets in your nose and just stays there. And all I could do was freeze, just staring at it as my hands started to get all shaky. I looked around, half expecting someone to be standing there watching me, but the woods were completely still. No birds, no wind, nothing. Just me and that thing on my truck. I kicked the tent to wake Craig and Tammy. Why they have to have a spice war and end up with plain war looking for... Yeah. When I was pregnant with my son, my biggest craving was honey garlic pepperoni dipped in cream cheese. What? My biggest craving was honey garlic pepperoni dipped in cream cheese. Fuck, dude, I'll eat that right now, bro. I might be pregnant all the time. Just constantly have a factory of food babies coming out of my ass. The British did the most during the spice trade to not use a damn spice in any dish. It is kind of interesting. I mean, I can't even really think of it. The only thing I can think of when I think of British food is just like deep fried slop on a pile of parchment paper And it's not to say that that's even correct, because I'm sure that there is like a deep and rich heritage of like pig's guts or whatever it is that they're into. But like I just... I don't know. It's got to be something. Have you tried Rocky Mountain oysters? No, dude. Why are there oysters in the Rocky Mountains? When I was pregnant, my craving was chopped up kiwi in a bowl with hot Cheetos. Oh, fuck. Dude, can you imagine? Actually, chopped up kiwi, and then you crumple up the Cheetos and, like, just sprinkle it on top like a seasoning of sorts? The Brits would lose their mind. If you shake a bit of salt on your food here, that's too spicy for most people. That is a lot, honestly. But they also burn when they see the sun. What the hell? Dill pickled flavored chips. It's a tongue twister. Oh yeah, blood pudding. There you go. Yummy. Yummy blood. Bourgeois B, welcome to the Buttersalt Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Dill picker flips. My pregnancy cravings was cottage cheese with red hots. Dude, there's gotta be... I'm seeing a pattern there. I'm seeing a slight pattern. You're getting like dairy and some type of fucking spicy salt. Can I do a French accent? I can do my best. I looked around, half expecting someone to be standing there watching me, but the woods were dead still. No birds, no wind, nothing. Just me and that thing on my truck. This is Dracula. This is Dracula. I looked around, half expecting someone to be standing there watching me. But the woods are dead still. No birds, no wind, nothing. Just me and that thing on my truck. Truck. He probably roll his R there. Truck. Because he's Romanian. Can I do Australian? Oh, mate, yeah. I looked around, half expecting someone to be standing there watching me. But the woods were dead still. No birds, no wind, nothing. Just me and that thing on my truck. I kicked the tent to wake Craig, Tanner. They stumbled out, groggy, but when they saw it, their faces went white. Your husband says it's amazing. Thanks, Huzzy. The Huz. Polska? Like Polish? Hey, man, I don't even know that the Polish had to do that. I looked around and I was expecting someone that would be standing there watching me, and the whole woods were dead still. I don't actually know what they would sound like. I'd have to do like Pujanowski or some shit. Oh, the Bobby, mate? Australian vampire. Oh, yeah? Oh, I looked around, half expecting someone be standing there watching me. But the woods were dead still. Birds, no wind, nothing. Just me and my little buddy. I don't know if that's good. German accent. German. Guten Tag. Guten Tag. Can I do your voice, Ollie? No, I can't do it. Half expecting. I looked around, half expecting. German. What is German?
What the hell? I looked around, half expecting someone to be standing there watching me. But the woods were dead still. No birds, no wind, nothing.
Every German's got to scream. How about Hispanic trying to feed a pregnant woman? No, I don't think I can do that. You need to eat your cottage cheese and your hot and spicy Chito, oh, you're not hungry? Oh, man. I looked around, half expecting someone to be standing there watching me, but the woods were dead still. No birds, no wind, nothing. Just me and that thing on my truck. I kicked the tent to wake Craig and Tanner. They stumbled out groggy, but when they saw it, their faces went white. We didn't say much. We didn't need to. Something was clearly very wrong. We tore down camp fast, threw everything in the back of the truck without folding it up. I grabbed a stick and pushed that skin off the hood. It hit the ground with a wet slap, and I didn't look at it again. We piled in, and I floored it down the road, tires kicking up dust, and the whole way I kept checking the rear view, like something might be chasing us. But there was nothing there, and I really couldn't shake that feeling, though. And we didn't talk about it much on the drive back. Craig kind of just stared out the window, and Tanner kept messing with his hands, picking at his nails, and I just focused on the road, trying to keep my mind blank and avoid whatever was back there. And when we got to town, we split up pretty quick. I went back home, washed the blood off of my truck with a hose, and stood there watching as the red kind of just swirled down the driveway. It really didn't feel real, but my gut wouldn't settle. And later that day, I could not stop thinking about it. I started asking around to see if anyone knew anything. This guy, Mr. Harris at the gas station, gave me a look when I mentioned it, and he said that he'd heard stories of people finding skinned animals left in their cars or porches out in the deep woods. Said that it had been happening off and on for years. No one knew who did it, but folks figured it was some type of warning, a message for outsiders or people who didn't belong. Harris said that he'd seen it himself once, way back in the 80s when he'd camped out. Too far out. He woke up to, I guess, a skinned rabbit on his cooler and apparently never went back again. I didn't sleep much that night, and I just kept picturing that skin, the way it was stretched out all careful, and I eventually got online and started digging. I found posts for people all over, all the same stories, these skinned animals left in the night, always in these remote spots. Some said it was hunters gone crazy, others said it was something older and something tied to the land. Some said it was hunters gone crazy or pranksters, and others thought it was something older, something tied to the land. One guy swore that he'd seen figures moving in the trees after it happened to him, but he didn't stick around to find out more. And the more I read, the worse it got. People talked about feeling watched, hearing noises after they got home, like
Five big booms. Boom, boom, boom.
You once found 3 dead deer stacked in a pile at a lake park by a boat dock. I didn't stay around to find out what happened. That's weird. 3 dead deer stacked. Weird. People talked about feeling watched, hearing noises after they got home, like whatever did it wasn't done with them. And I told myself it was nothing, just some sick joke, maybe kids messing around, but I really couldn't shake it. And I don't know who did it or what they wanted. Maybe we'd crossed some line, camped somewhere we shouldn't have. Maybe it was random. But I know it wasn't an animal that skinned that thing and put it on my truck. I haven't been camping since, and I don't think I ever will. Craig and Tanner pretty much feel the same way. We haven't really talked about it much, but it's there. pretty much looming over us. And I still drive that truck, but every time I look at the hood, I still see that skin. I keep the doors locked now, and I don't know if it'll ever stop. All I know is that I ain't going back in those deep woods ever again. Squidward and SpongeBob's voice. My Squidward's not very good, nor is my SpongeBob. Hey, Squidward. People talked about feeling watched, hearing noises as they got home after. Like whatever did it wasn't with them. I don't know. Oh, SpongeBob. People talk about feeling watched, hearing noises as they got home. Like whatever did it wasn't done with them. I don't know, it's just not good. Oh, man. What are you looking at, S.A.? You got a problem with me? Means you got a problem with the Latin kings. If you don't want people finding your hideout, if you're trying to disappear into the woods, leave skins for the people who get close. I guess so. That means you have to skin something. Unless you just, like, have skins available. I feel like they'd be, like, rotting. Alrighty. Let's get tidy. We got one more story.
Hi, SpongeBob. It was the summer of 1979 when the idea of going on a camping trip first came up in conversation. Mark, a close friend of mine since high school, had been griping about his job for weeks. He'd been working some soul-crushing desk gig at an insurance company, and me and our mutual friend Joey weren't much better off either. I was bouncing between temp jobs, and Joey was stuck in a warehouse moving boxes for minimum wage.
That's bad. That's really bad, isn't it?
It's Patrick.
Do Mr. Crab.
Oh, I can't fucking do it, I suck cock. It was the summer of 1979 when the idea of going camping for the camping trip first time came up in conversation. Mark, a close friend of mine since high school, had been griping about his job for weeks. He's lucky to have one. Oh, SpongeBob.
I don't know. Can't fucking do it. Sounds like Sesame Street, yeah. Yeah, I'm built for Sesame Street, pretty much. Read smut like that.
Oh, he's stuck. I fucking cut off his foreskin with me fucking crab claws. Ha-cha-cha-cha-cha. Jordan Peterson meets Mr. Krabs.
Throw in some Irish. It was the summer of 1979 when the idea of going camping on a camping trip first came up in conversation. Mark, a close friend of mine since high school, had been griping about his job for weeks. He'd been working some soul-crushing desk job at an insurance company, and me and our mutual friend Joey were much better off either. I was bouncing between temp jobs, and Jack and Joey was stuck in a warehouse moving boxes for minimum wage. And SpongeBob was filled with holes. I had me way with his holes. Ha ha ha. Oh, hee hee. Elmo's voice.
Elmo, I was the summer of 1979 when the idea of...
Yeah, it hurts my throat. Sounds kind of Welsh. That's funny. Yeah, I don't even know what a Welshman sounds like, to be honest with you. They sound scary. Sounds at Stitch.
That's Stitch.
I'm gonna be in the live remake. But it's just gonna be me with like a blue ears on my head and the tail that he's got. Meatwad.
Oh, Meatwad, what's going on with you?
Welsh accents sound very similar to your Irish accent. Oh, perfect. It was the summer of 19. So what's Irish? Irish is more casual. It was summer of 1979 when the idea of going on a camping trip first came up in conversation. Mark, a close friend of mine since back in high school, had been gripping about his job for weeks. And he'd been working soul-crushing, I don't know. Sounds like Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah. I mean, it kind of sounds Scottish, I guess, too, but it's harder to do the low Scottish. It was the summer of 1979 when the idea, like, you almost have to, like, know how to roll your R's because it's, like, more... It reminds me more of, like, the Scandinavian Viking sort of vibe with the Scottish. Would you do a Garten D of ban roll if you could? Wait, what do you mean? It is a skill issue, honestly. You gotta know how to R like a pirate. Roll your R's. It was the summer of 1979 when the idea of going on a camping trip first came up in conversation. Mark, a close friend of mine since high school, had been griping about his job for weeks. He'd been working some soul-crushing desk gig at an insurance company, and our mutual friend Joey and I weren't much better off either. I was bouncing between temp jobs and Joey was stuck in a warehouse moving boxes for minimum wage. We wanted to get away from things so bad, anything to break up the monotony of either working or hanging out, but we didn't have the money to go jet-setting to the Bahamas and we couldn't all get the time off for an extended road trip. And so instead, we decided to go camping. After a little discussion, we decided that the Harold Parker... Do the freaking dub. The anime dub. Let's get some dubs in the chat. After a little discussion, we decided that the Harold Parker State Forest should be the spot. With it being just an hour's drive north of Cambridge, it was close enough to home that it made for an easy journey, but far enough and large enough to make it feel like a real escape out to the wilderness. When I say it's big, I mean it's big. It's over 3,000 acres of pine and oak and takes about 6 or 7 hours to walk across on a good day. We knew because we'd been there once before. A day trip a few years back, so we figured 3 nights in early fall would be just right before the weather turned too cold and too wet. We started planning in more detail once the date got closer, pooling our resources to keep our costs down. My old rusted blue hatchback barely passed inspection, but it'd do for the trip to the forest, while Mark managed to dig out his dad's ancient 2-man tent from his garage. It was still in decent shape despite a few patched up holes, but since it only fit 2, Joey brought along a little one-person deal that he'd bought cheap at an Army-Navy store. We split the rest of the gear, sleeping bags. Let's eat the dubs like Jameis Winston. Dude, Jameis Winston is like one of those athletes in the NFL that always... I'm just surprised he's still... I don't know. He's still in the league. He's just going, which is cool. I guess there was maybe a lot more expected out of him, which keeps him kind of continuously relevant. Scandinavian, Scottish, Irish, Welsh guy. It was still in decent shape despite a few patched up holes, but since it only fit 2, Joey brought along a little one-person deal that he'd bought cheap at an Army-Navy store. We split the rest of the gear, sleeping bags, a cooler, and some cool cooking stuff, and Joey tossed in a fishing rod and I grabbed a couple of tarps in case it rained. Mark got a hold of a map of the park, one of those foldable pamphlet things that you can still get from the park's welcome center, and then after that, we figured that we were all set. And the drive up was a lot of fun. We left on a Friday afternoon, the sun still high in the sky as we blasted going up. I remember the drive being a lot of fun going up. We left on a Friday afternoon, the sun was still high in the sky as we blasted going up country and Born to Be Wild on the car stereo. And then about an hour later, we rolled into the forest just as dusk started to settle. The gravel lot near the entrance only had one other car parked in it, and after putting a few bucks in an envelope at the small wooden self-service kiosk, we picked a campsite near a place called Berry Pond. It was a flat clearing, surrounded by tall trees with a fire ring already set up. The ground was blanketed in needles, and through the trees, maybe 50 yards off, the waters of the pond was shimmering in the light of that setting sun. It was beautiful, thinking back on it. We unloaded the car, hauled our stuff over to the site, and then got to work setting up camp. That first night was great. Mark got a fire going with a lighter and some crumpled up newspaper that he'd bought, and then we cooked the hot dogs on the sticks, and the ends were charring black, and heated the bands. What the fuck? Do you do theme requests? You can definitely look into stuff if I have it available and if we have enough stories in the old archives to pull for you. I'm uncanny. I'm from the uncanny valley. Joel hit me with a soap bar and a sock at boot camp. Yeah, it's because you got us all doing laps, not knowing how to wash your own ass. So we had to do it for you. Menopause sucks with the 2, thank you. Oops. Mark got a fire going with a lighter and some crumpled up newspaper that he'd bought. And, wait, what the hell? Mark got a fire going with a lighter and some crumpled up newspaper he'd brought, and then we cooked the hot dogs on a stick and heated the beans in a dented pot that I'd found in my mom's basement. The food wasn't exactly gourmet, but out there it was tasting better than I expected it to. When we were done with the dogs, we cracked the beers and then sat on a log that we dragged over to the fire. I leaned forward, just kind of staring at the flames, and felt the stress melting away from me as I thought, this is exactly what I needed. The next day, we decided to do some exploring, and so we picked a 3-mile trail that looped around the pond and up to an overlook. The path was narrow, and the woods were alive with the sounds of leaves rustling overhead and squirrels and animals darting through the underbrush. The view from the overlook was well worth the hike, though, with the forest stretching out before us for And the view from the overlook was well worth the hike, though, with the forest stretching out before us under the morning sun, and we sat there for a while, passing around a bag of trail mix and kind of dumbstruck by how beautiful everything was. It was all just so peaceful, and as much as the forest appeared wild and untamed, we felt safe. But we were wrong to feel that way. Sunday started the same. We hiked again, a longer trail this time, and then got back to the camp in the late afternoon, tired but satisfied. Mark napped in the tent as I gathered more wood, and then, after eating while the sun was setting, we figured that we'd head to sleep. He found that the actual lore of skinwalkers has really been lost on the internet. It's why I roll my eyes at skinwalker stories. Oh, like it's supposed to be more of a... Isn't it supposed to be more of like a chief or somebody like that shapeshifts or something of that nature? Wendigos are more of spirits than a creature. Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't even know if there's any, like, sort of modern day... I don't even know if there's, like, a consensus, at least in the creepypasta sense, as to what a Wendigo is, per se. Sunday started just the same. We hiked again, a longer trail this time, and then got back to camp in the late afternoon, tired but very satisfied. Mark napped in the tent as I gathered more wood, then after eating while the sun was setting, we figured that we had to sleep early since we were so beat from the day's hike. With Joey's tent just this dark lump nearby, I zipped up our own, and then as I got into my sleeping bag, Mark was already snoring beside me. The forest went quiet, just the occasional hoot of an owl and a bird, and then I drifted off to sleep. The forest went quiet, just the occasional sound of an animal, and then I drifted off to sleep. But I remember waking up cold. The air in the tent felt wrong, damp and cold. I fumbled for my flashlight, clicked it on, and saw the flap was unzipped. I sat up and shone the light around. Mark's sleeping bag was empty and his boots were gone, but his jacket was still there, wadded up in the corner of the tent. Night, Alex. But his jacket was still there, wadded up in the corner of the tent. I checked my watch and it was just after 4:30 a.m., so I figured he'd gone to take a piss somewhere and would be back any second. I lay back down and waited a minute, but there was nothing but silence. Another minute went by and there was no whistling, no footsteps, nothing. After another minute, I sat up again, clicking my flashlight back on as I shuffled towards the flap of our tent and peeked outside. It was pitch black out there. The darkness was just swallowing up the beam of my flashlight as I scanned for any sign of Mark. I moved it one way, then another, but there was no trace of him anywhere. I felt kind of silly as I climbed out of my sleeping bag. Something like, was I really that much of a sissy that I'd given myself the creeps over nothing more than a friend going to the bathroom? And as I put on my boots, I figured that I'd probably get no more than 10 feet before I'd spot Mark returning, and I'd have to explain what a little scaredy cat that I was, getting the willies over him going wee. Getting the willies over him going wee-wee. But this other voice in my head kept speaking over the others, asking, but what if you don't? What if he's in trouble? And after pulling on my jacket, I climbed out of the tent and stood up, and turned around in a circle with my flashlight in my hand. I was ready to see him walking back, but when I didn't, I took a few footsteps before calling out Mark's name. Kinda low at first, so not to wake Joey. Kinda low at first, so as not to wake Joey unless it was absolutely necessary. And I circled the campsite, shining the light into the trees, but when I saw that there was nothing but shadows, I started to get this really bad feeling that something was wrong. I called out Mark's name again, louder that time, and that's what woke Joey. I heard rustling in his tent before he unzipped it, and I turned, trying not to blind him with the flashlight, and he just blinked up at me. His hair was a mess, and then he asked what was going on. We went through this whole back and forth of me telling Joey that I thought Mark was missing, him asking if Mark wasn't off taking a pee, and me assuming me assuring him that I wasn't just being a pansy. Then, once he was convinced something was wrong, Joey put his boots and jacket on and then climbed out of his tent. We went off searching in different directions at first, circling the campsite at a wider berth while calling out Mark's name, and my flashlight cut through the dark, picking out trunks and bushes, but no sign of Mark. When we met back at the campsite, Joey suggested Mark might have been sleepwalking. Apparently he'd done it a few times as a kid, and that one time he made it all the way downstairs and into his backyard. I doubted it, but we widened the circle anyway, moving deeper into the woods. Only that time we agreed to stay together. As we walked further and further into the woods, the ground began to slope downward, with loose roots threatening to tear us up. Trip us up. Yeah, did they check his actual tent? Oh, there's Pradeep. He has arrived. Hi, buddy. I brought one of his little beds to be at my feet, so maybe he'll lay in it. Lay in your little bed. There he goes. Oh, nice, dude. He's laying in it. Let's go. This is the greatest day ever. Oh, now he's out of it for some reason. As we walked further and further into the woods, the ground began to slope downward, with loose roots threatening to trip us up with each step into that darkness. And my feet and socks were already soaked, and the night was so chilly that my hands shook holding that flashlight. The forest felt even bigger now, denser and harder to navigate, but still we pushed on, yelling for Mark as we went. After about an hour of what felt like walking pretty much in circles, Joey suddenly stopped. He pointed his flashlight toward a bush, and something gray that was snagged on it. I aimed my own light, and when I did, my heart sank. We each saw the unmistakable sight of Mark's hat, that faded blue one that he'd been wearing the whole trip, hanging from the bush's thorns. We stared at it for a second or two, not moving, and then Joey spoke up, saying it didn't make sense. He kept moving, each calling out Mark's name again. We kept moving, each calling out Mark's name again. Then, about 50 feet onward, we found his socks, one, then the other, tossed aside like he just peeled them off and left them there. Next, we found his jeans crumpled in the dirt, and then his t-shirt, and then his boxers, all spread out over the course of maybe 50 to 60 yards and on a very deliberate path. Each of us started trying to make sense of what we were seeing, with Joey asking if I'd seen Mark drinking any liquor or using anything stronger. We drank all that beer that we had with us on that first night, but then, as much as I didn't like seeing him drinking any, there was no guarantee Mark hadn't been sneaky with a secret fifth of bourbon or something. But even if he had gotten drunk out of his mind in secret, he wasn't the kind of guy to go streaking through the woods in the middle of the night. And that just wasn't Mark's brand of humor, I guess. We went back and forth for like that, maybe for a few seconds, carried on calling out Mark's name as loud as we could, and then I think maybe a minute or so later, we saw it. Just ahead of us, lying chest up on the ground, was the lifeless, decapitated body of a young man. Blood soaked the ground around it, having poured from the stump of his shoulders. The cut looked clean and straight, too, with... Oh my god. What the fuck? The guy's head's missing? Oh shit. Fucking Marky Mark, dude. No head Mark. It's Ichabod Crane. Just ahead of us, lying chest up on the ground, was the lifeless, decapitated body of a young man. Blood soaked the ground around it, having poured from the stump above his shoulders. The cut looked clean and straight, too, and the rest of the body looked untouched. No marks, No wounds, just pale, unblemished skin, bright white in the beams of our flashlight. And I think I kind of just shut down for a second or two. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. And it's weird to think about all these years later, but there was a moment where I thought to myself, is this even reality? I didn't think it was a dream, or that I might be hallucinating or anything like that. It just looked fake to me. I guess my brain refused to accept what I was seeing for a second and had me thinking it was some kind of movie prop. The way the bright white skin had this almost bluish tone to it, or the way all the blood had sort of congealed around the neck wound and made it look like plastic. I'd never seen a dead body before, so I guess I had no idea what to expect. But for the life of me, I didn't expect to see all of that. I guess Joey had a similar kind of reaction. He didn't think it was Mark, or at least he didn't want to think that it was Mark. And I'll never forget the deep feeling of hurt that I felt when, instead of accepting it, Joey carried on calling out his name. Joey yelled louder and more frantic, over and over, pacing around that body but never looking at it. He kept saying it wasn't him, that it couldn't be. His voice kept cracking as he spoke. And I just stayed frozen. The flashlight, I remember, trembling in my hands as it slowly just sort of sank in for me. That was Mark. The height, the build, no tattoos or scars. It had to be him. And besides, all his clothes were lining the forest just a few yards away from us. My throat closed up as I tried to get the words out, and in the end I had to force them out, saying, "Joey, it's him. It's Mark." He shook his head, saying no over and over. He still wouldn't look at the body. He just paced back and forth, hands on his head as the tears welled up in his eyes, and I said it again, louder and angrier, my voice trembling, and he stopped yelling and then started just sobbing into his hands. My legs felt weak, but I couldn't sit. I did the only thing I could think of, which was walk over to Joey and try to console him. Once Joey's cries had quieted to just gasping, I held him while saying, "We gotta do something, man. I know it's messed up, but we gotta do something." Once he kinda calmed down enough to understand, we made our way back to camp as quickly as possible, even running at some points where the ground allowed us to. I don't know why we did that, looking back on it. Maybe it was just to feel like we were helping in some way, but by then, time wasn't an issue anymore. Our friend Mark was gone, and he was never coming back, no matter how fast we ran. Once we were back in my car, we took off along that road until we reached Middleton, and then after turning left towards Ranger HQ, there it was ahead of us. There were only 2 rangers manning the place since it was still before 6 a.m., but after we stumbled in, panicked, grief-stricken, they gave us some cups of coffee and let us tell our story. Joey did most of the talking, and his voice was an absolute mess, but I did my best to help him out whenever he stumbled over his words. They asked us questions that we could hardly answer. We gave up trying to explain and just begged them to let us show them. What's my favorite? Bloons Monkey Town? Monkey Tower? I don't know. I feel like I haven't made it that far in the game, to be honest with you. I made it pretty far, but I kind of like just like the base ones where it's just like greenery. Hospital grade coffee, yeah. Dude, I remember making coffee for the nurses and stuff, and I would put like 4, like a solid like 4 scoops or whatever, like packets of whatever we had for like brewing coffee. I just remember it was like 4 of them, and it was so strong. And that was when I first started drinking caffeine. It wasn't until I was like 24 that I started drinking caffeine, and it was because I worked night shift, and it wasn't even because I was trying to stay awake, because I was good at staying awake. It was just the fact that when I would drink it and it was really strong, I felt like really, really excited for a little bit. Joel, is it distracting when I spam the in 100 or not? Oh, no, you're fine. I don't mind. Say whatever you want to say. Caffeine does nothing to me, man. Maybe I have to try a different type of caffeine. What's my favorite YouTube channel? Andrew Tate. No, I'm just kidding. Hassan Piker. But it's Hassan Piker naked. But he's got all his rings on. He's got all his cool jewelry on, too. He's got bracelets. He's got rings. He's got necklaces. He's got a cock ring. He's got like a big Gucci belt that he wears around his nude waist with all of his pubes kind of pushing through it. He's got ankle bracelets. He's got toe rings. He's got his asshole is pierced too, but it's like kind of like a big staple. So like whenever he poops, the ring between his asshole actually cuts the shit, kind of like eviscerates it long ways. So that's kind of strange. I don't know what you call that. Like there's like the Prince Edward. I guess you'd probably call that one like the Prince Epstein or something. But this is a special channel that he has just for me that I watch, since I'm a tier 3 subscriber. You have ADHD and a lot of caffeine makes you sleepy. Interesting. Now circle back to the peener. Torpedo style. They asked us questions we could hardly answer, and we gave up trying to explain and just begged to let us show them. The sun was coming up by the time we got back to our campsite, and everything looked just as it was when we left. And from there we walked the accompanying ranger out to Mark's body, and when he saw it, all he could do was tighten his jaw. He then turned to us, narrowing his eyes, and asked what happened. I said we didn't know, and that we just found him like that. Joey nodded and his voice was gone. Joey nodded, and at that point his voice had gone hoarse. The ranger just stood around asking us a few more questions, but it slowly dawned on me that whatever we said, he was not buying it. He didn't act hostile in any way. There was no pushback at all, in fact, but something about the way he acted told me that he didn't believe us. He got on his radio and called it in. 1 body, decapitated, 2 witnesses. Then he told us that we weren't free to leave yet, and we were to wait back at our camp. EMTs eventually got there, and then the cops followed in 2 cruisers with their lights flashing silently, I remember. They split us up, me by the tents and Joey near the pond, and then they started to question us. Where were we when it happened? What did we hear? Did Mark have any enemies that knew about this trip? Their questions came on thick and fast, but there was no sympathy or comfort issued. They thought we did it, and I could see it in how they treated us. After we were done talking, we were told that they'd have to bag everything up as evidence, and when I say they took everything, I mean they took everything. Our clothes, our gear, the cooler, both tents, all 3 sleeping bags, and the little knives that we'd use for cooking. We didn't object to any of it, and we knew that we'd done nothing wrong, and we just wanted to go home. Once the 2 cops had finished questioning me and Joey, they talked amongst themselves for a while and then told us that we better head to the station with them. We weren't under arrest, they just wanted to question us someplace that they could properly record it. Again, we hadn't done anything wrong, so we didn't object, and they drove us to the precinct before putting us in separate rooms. And those interrogation rooms were small and gray, with a metal table and a one-way mirror. A detective sat across from me with a notepad out, asking the same things the 2 uniformed cops did over and over, just in different variations. I told him everything that happened that night, from me waking up to seeing the flap was open, then the search, the clothes, and the body. When I finished, the detective leaned in and then asked if Mark and I had fought, or if I'd been jealous or angry with him for any reason. I said no, and it was a forceful one too. Me and Mark were friends, best friends. The detective didn't blink. He just wrote it down and then started off on the same old line of questioning. Where were we when it happened? What did we hear? And did Mark have any enemies that knew about our trip? A few hours later, they hiccuped. They hiccooped. They hiccooped. 89 documented personalities according to my precise calculations and observations. You're blind. You're freaking blind, dude. You're supposed to rub coffee grounds on the edge of your eyes before you drink it. Duh, it's fully effective then. That's true. I'm fairly certain the only way to get coffee to work or caffeine to work for most people that it doesn't is that they have to boof it. They're going to have to take probably an inflated animal balloon that's also filled with coffee and put it up their butt. Thoughts on Mark? Mark sounds chill. You've been struck by, you've been molested. And to my penar exploding surprise, Mark's head was cut off. I feel bad. So this happened when? It said 1979 or some shit? Boof some beans and report back. Oh, that would actually be a good idea. You boof coffee beans up your ass, and then it would turn into coffee via diarrhea. Oh, shut up. Shut up with the diarrhea jokes. Fucking fucker. Drew C, welcome back. Where's Drew A through Z, though? What did you do with them? A few hours later, they let both me and Joey go. He got pretty much the same hotbox treatment as I did, and by then, he'd also realized that the eye of suspicion was firmly upon us. We were scared, really scared, and each of us imagined some botched trial that'd see both of us wrongly convicted of first-degree murder. But even when faced with such a terrifying prospect, our fears were still dwarfed by the horror of what, in God's name, happened to our friend Mark. It still doesn't make any sense to me, even all these years later. If we'd come across him lying there, dead from a single gunshot or stabbed to death, but fully clothed, that would have been bad enough. But then, how'd he end up taking his clothes off like that? And who took his head? About a week after we'd been questioned, forensics came back to clean. THC dropper once and it probably boofed really well. There you go. You got options. Boofing the beans for extended release, yeah. Oh, hi, Mark. Where's your head? About a week after we were questioned, forensics came back clean. It was good news, but neither me nor Joey ever felt like celebrating it. There was still the matter of Mark's death, and more importantly, who the hell killed him. But after many months of investigating, that a case. But after many, many months of obsessively investigating, the case eventually turned cold. The cops had no weapon, no motive, and there was another thing that stayed missing: Mark's head. Cops and rangers searched the area around the scene for days, hoping it'd turn up someplace, but it didn't. Whoever killed him had taken it with them. And it all feels like some lifetime ago. Joey moved way west about years... Fuck. Give Mark's head back right now. Give it. Drop it. Drop it. It all feels like a long lifetime ago. That doesn't sound right. It all feels like a lifetime ago. Joey moved west about a year later, got a job out in Oregon someplace, and we don't talk a lot these days, but we do keep in touch. We just don't talk about what happened. I stayed around Cambridge, but I fell apart for a while. I couldn't hold down a job, even stuff like stocking shelves or driving delivery. I just blank out mid-shift, see Mark's body again and the blood soaking in the dirt, and then I just disappear from whatever I was doing and drink. Days were bad, but the nights were worse. On the off chance that I was sober when I fell asleep, I'd inevitably see Mark walking away from me through the woods, stripping as he went. I'd run after him, calling out his name, but he was never able to hear me. Then when he did finally turn around, he was headless. I'd wake up in a cold sweat with my heart pounding, wondering why I wasn't still back in that tent. Friends eventually drifted off, and my girlfriend too. She stuck around a year and then bailed when I couldn't open up about what had happened and my drinking problem. And I didn't blame her. I still don't. I was a complete mess. Drunk or sober, I'd sit in my apartment, lights off, staring at the wall. And then sometimes, if I had to go out, I'd drive past wooden spots and see the trees. And my grip would tighten around the steering wheel. Years later, I eventually hit rock bottom. I lost another job, stopped leaving the house, and stopped eating altogether, and then lost a bunch of weight. My sister dragged me to a doctor who put me on meds, and they dulled the edges, but the nightmares just didn't go away for a long, long time. She found this therapy program, cognitive behavioral. Pradeep, what are you doing, boy? Climbing your little thing. He's like sitting at my feet, but he's not in his little bed. Okay, now he's in his little bed. Perfect. I don't think they found the head. Everybody check their pockets. She found this therapy program, cognitive behavioral, she said, a pretty intensive one too. And I started in the spring, twice a week. And those shrinks were good. They didn't push too hard, and one said writing something could help force me to face it instead of buying. And one said writing something could help force me to face it instead of burying it. I could lay it all out, all the details, and maybe it'd lose some of its power over me. It worked better with time, just not by much. Mark's still gone. His case has stayed cold, and Dude, what the hell? Mark is still gone. His case has stayed cold, and no one has ever found his head, who took it, or why. I don't go near the Harold Parker State Forest anymore. I don't go near that state forest anymore, or any wooded area at all for that matter. And while I'm better than I was, I'll never be the same person that I was before. The old me stayed out there in that forest, and in the exact spot that we found Mark's headless body. And just like my old high school buddy, he's never coming home. Okay, honest question. Do you guys think I should start with that story? Sorry, I thought I saw something walk by my little tent. My little fort. My recording fort. Do you think I should start with that story or any of the other ones? Because sometimes I get comments or people are like, dude, these stories are so ridiculously ridiculous. And it's like, I can't control that, dude. They're also, like, kind of interesting. Like, do you really want to just hear about a girl getting, like, looked at by a weirdo all the time on the trail or on a fucking bus? Yeah, I mean, I'm literally in a tent right now. Pradeep does have his head. Sometimes you just gotta build a fort around yourself, you know what I mean? Fortnite. Hit the gwitty inside of it. But I guess that's pretty much it. That's all we got for tonight, guys. Which, even though it was 3.5 hours, I feel like we like blasted through it. Outro. But now you gotta think of something funny for me to say at the end. It did feel kind of fast. I feel like I didn't make as many mistakes as I normally do, but it still was 3.5 hours, but maybe it could have ended up being like 4. Hey friends. Oh my god. My stomach is growling. Hey friends. Shit. I didn't even yawn one time. I guess I didn't use that much brain power this time. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. I release new videos every Monday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and there are super fun live streams on Sundays and Wednesday nights. If you got a story, be sure to submit them to my email at letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com, and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations and bonus content over on Patreon, or click that big join button to hear about the extra perks for members of the channel. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all of these stories and big compilations located anywhere you listen to podcasts. All links in the description below. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, do Australian Dracula again. Make a pizza pocket and come back. Pizza pocket? A pizza pussy pocket.
It's too hot. Ah, my cock.
Let's see. Remember, friends. Tough titty, said the kitty when the milk ran dry. Tough titty, said the kitty when the milk ran... That's a good one, actually. Nate the Great with the 2 says, finals be very hard. Thank you for helping me sleep. You're welcome, my friend. Sorry they're tough, but just keep studying. You'll get it. Remember to boof coffee beans for extended release. That's a good one, too. What is it? The kitty went the titty. And remember, friends, tough titty, said the kitty. Yeah, I like that. I feel like that was like in a song or some classic rock song or something. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, tough titty, said the kitty, when the milk ran dry. Boom shakalaka. Alright, we are done. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Sorry that was like way too fast, but yeah, I'll definitely be back streaming this weekend at some point, definitely Sunday. But please do, you can get early access to bonus content. Or just early access for $1 a month over on Patreon. But yeah, you can get bonus content there as well as here with the members only access. Otherwise, I gotta run to the bathroom. I hope you guys have an awesome evening. I'll get this up same time, same place, 9 p.m. EST every Monday and Thursday. But yeah, I'll be back streaming probably Sunday. So follow my Instagram at letsread.official. I didn't link my Twitch today. I should have probably, but love you guys. Appreciate you. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.